time to sit down, keep it real, and cut the bullshit. Welcome to Table Talk. All right, guys, we're back with another episode of Table Talk. Today, my guest is Chad Penson, holder. He's had 4 all-time world records. So I'm just going to go through some numbers here real quick. Correct me if I'm wrong, right? In the 220 raw with sleeves, 2066, right?
Yeah.
And the 220 class with wraps, 2182.
Yep.
And the all-time world record squat, 925.9.
Yeah.
At the 220s. And you're also a coach, so lifter and coach. So I want to put that out there as well. Let's start off with, I'm sure you've done tons of podcasts before. So before you started powerlifting, I like to see where people's physical bases developed.
Yeah.
I know there was football and there was wrestling and that you wrestled in college. So we'll get to the college thing in a minute. At what age did you start just any kind of sport activity?
Man, so way back, obviously, like when everybody's kids, they play a little like pee-wee football, soccer, whatever. My folks tried to put me in soccer, was not good. The running, not really my thing. We did a little football, and that kind of stuck through middle school. Baseball, I really sucked at, so that definitely didn't stick. But football kind of seemed like where I was headed, but I was small. But I liked football because I liked to weight train and stuff like that. I started training on my porch with a broomstick. Actually, me and my cousin, we put the weights in the middle of the broomstick and just bench it on the floor.
When was that?
Man, I was probably like 8 or 9.
Okay, so before the sports?
Pretty much, yeah. We just wanted to be bros, I guess. I don't even know. We were just doing stuff in the country, man, in Mississippi, just chopping trees and just lifting broomsticks with weights on.
Yeah.
Maybe you've hit your first plateau and you're thinking of hopping on gear, but you realize you're already too small because you're too scared to put more weight on the bar. What do? You can support the podcast and get access to the elitefts Table Talk Discord, which has some of the most valuable information you'll ever get. Access to hundreds of ebooks, assuming you can read. Go ahead and cancel your OnlyFans membership to your favorite bear. Because on this Discord, we have a lot of bears. There's also a great form check section, where no matter what kind of lift you're doing, post a video, tons of people give you great feedback. Or maybe you're doing your own programming like down here. Well, there's a great section on the elitefts Discord where you can upload your programming, people can look at it, give you feedback, and telling you that maxing out 5 days a week makes about as much sense as not wiping after a massive Taco Bell dump. You gotta wipe. There's a button you can click, there's monthly prizes, you can win things like apparel with shirts, bands, all kinds of bands, endless amounts of bands.
Nothing else to do?
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah. that or get in trouble somewhere. So it's like, you got to stay here and not get in anything. So I'm like, all right, cool.
So how'd the wrestling come to be?
So wrestling actually, I kind of fell into it, honestly. I was leaving football practice freshman year in high school, and I'm probably like 105 pounds. But after football practice, I'm like drenched in Tennessee, so I'm probably like 95. Small little thing, like 5 foot even probably at the time. And the wrestling coach was like, "Hey, what do you think about coming out?" They needed a spot for one of like the 103 pounds at the time, so he was just kind of like
filling the spot.
Yeah, he's low-key just kind of cherry picking. And I was like, "Yeah, I'll give it a try." And he probably didn't think I'd be any good, and I didn't think I would either. But that first practice, I didn't know what I was doing, and I was sore as shit afterwards. But it was fun, kind of using my strength to like throw people around because I was strong for my size, but. In football, when you're 100 pounds, you gotta bring ass to get ass. Man. I didn't have it at the time, so I was getting run over by guys like just so they were bigger than me. Even though I was stronger than them, it just wasn't working out. So,
with the wrestling, then if you were to kind of rank your training with the wrestling, was the training still? Did you still love that more than the wrestling, or did it flip a little bit?
It kind of flipped just because I kind of had to keep my weight down. That was kind of the name of the game. But I was kind of an easy gainer because I was growing, through puberty and all that good stuff, I guess. So, like, I was still able to get stronger. I ended up benching, like, getting up to, like, 250 as a 125-pounder back in this. So, like, 2 times body weight in high school. I feel like it was pretty decent. But I wasn't deadlifting or squatting really at all. But I kind of like having to keep my weight down, kind of slowed the strength gains down, but it was fun.
Yeah.
I still enjoyed it. It was the most grueling, intensive stuff I've ever done. Like even now, I probably don't think anything's ever compared to.
It's a different type of work ethic.
Yeah, you're literally getting beat on for hours or beating each other up. So it's like it instills some grit in you. You know?
And you wrestled through college?
I wrestled a semester. I ended up dropping out as I'm in the military now. So I kind of went from college and I was like, this isn't really working out.
Got it.
And went straight to the Air Force. So.
Okay, so 1 semester and then Air Force?
Yeah.
Okay, and why'd you choose Air Force?
So I was actually going to go to the Army because my dad was Army.
Yeah.
And he recruited for the Army too for a little bit. And he was like, you can come home, but you're not going to the Army. He's like, your ASVAB was too high, and I'm not going to let you do that.
What was the ASVAB?
It was like an 85. I took it I just took it to get out of English class. Like, literally, I was like, I'm just going to do this. I'm not going to the military. It's not what I want to do.
Yeah.
And kind of went full circle, ended up going anyway. But I took it just to get out of English class, just kind of was going through it. And I'm a good test taker. I don't think I'm that smart, but like I'm a good test taker. So I just blazed through it, 84, and I'm like qualified for an IT job. So yeah.
So straight through.
Straight through.
Yeah, because the 85 qualifies you for pretty much every branch.
Yeah, pretty much. I think the only thing I didn't qualify for was like air traffic controller or like I think maybe like a linguist, but I didn't really want to do those. Those are like super high stress jobs, especially air traffic controller.
Yeah,
those guys wash up all the time.
So how long total have you been in?
May, March, 13 years.
Okay, so your career.
Yeah, at this point, yeah.
So what is it, seven more years? How many? Is it 20?
Yeah, it'll be 20. So 7 years, I'll make 20.
Yeah.
My contract's up in September, but I'm probably gonna re-up. I gotta wait till I'm like 90 days out and re-up for like 6, and then I'll just be done.
Write it out. Yeah. When did the powerlifting come into play? Your first meet is like 2012, right?
So that's the first one on paper.
Okay.
Actually, so powerlifting came about right after I got into the military. I was like, I still want to do something to be competitive because I missed the wrestling. I still miss it now, but I'm like, I have to keep my weight down anymore. So let's just get strong. So I was in tech school training for my job in Biloxi, Mississippi. And they have the Triangle Gym there, is what they call it. And they have like these little challenges to do, like bench press, and you help your body weight. So I did the little Wall of Fame challenge or whatever it was. It was like 270 or something. I benched at like 145 pounds. And I actually went in there to train one day, and they were having a meet. It was an APF meet. And they were like, the guy that ran the meet, he was like, hey, just come sign up, dude. And I'm like, all right, I don't really have anything else to do. So I like walked in, shorts, t-shirt. And it was nuts. I'd never seen a powerlifting meet, and there's guys in shirts, and I'm just like, what the hell is this dude putting on? He's like, hey, help me put this shirt on. I'm like, all right, cool. So I'm stepping on this dude's back to put a shirt on. And I'm like, I don't know what I'm doing, but I'm pulling with everything I got. It's not fucking moving. So I ended up doing the meet. I benched like, I couldn't tell you, probably like 275 maybe. I think I deadlifted like 315, and I probably barely squatted 315 too. So I wasn't good, but it was like, oh, there's a sport that I can actually train for. I ended up back in a weight class sport, so that went full circle, having to keep my weight down again. But after that, I sucked at it, but I fell in love with it. This is back in like 2011.
Yeah.
So, this is back when like bodybuilding.com forums and like, I was like, kind of just jumped into it and like, let me see what I can learn and train for this, and kind of fell in love with it. And it took me a while to get here, but
Well, what was that process at the very start when you were trying to figure it out and learn? Were you with a group of different people? Or are you trying to figure it out yourself?
Honestly, I was by myself. I guess initially being at that gym, I kind of picked up some stuff from those guys, but it wasn't a whole. I was only there for a couple months, but I kind of just scoured like bodybuilding.com forums and like T Nation. I kept a training log. I looked at other people's training logs. And I jumped on some of the popular programs, like it was Mad Cows, like the 5x5s, and I hit Smolov like an idiot like 3 times. It ruined me, but at the same time, I think it kind of gave me a good base for my squats, which is kind of what I'm going for now. So, but I kind of did it on my own for a long time before I even hired a coach. I think my first coach was Micah Marino. Actually coached me for a little bit. I was a terrible client. I didn't listen, but
what was your total before you reached out to him? Roundabout.
I want to say probably like around 1,400, something like that. Back in like 2013. I've been lifting a couple of years at that point, and I kind of got hurt too. I think it was around 14 or 1,500, and I got hurt right before I started working with him, or right after I started working with him, and threw my back out, bad sciatica, and I still have it sometimes today. But so I took a couple of years off at that point, and I came back in like 2015 when I was deployed. So yeah, that was my first coaching experience was with Micah, and I think after him,
well, why do you say you weren't a good client?
Well, so me and Micah are buddies now. Like he's my boy. But he would like, so I would text him every day like, yo, what am I hitting today? And he would like just send me the text. So I felt like I wasn't like, I wanted more knowledge. Like, yo, why am I doing this? I was like, I'm just going in here hitting stuff, and I got to wait for my text messages. And I was impatient, so sometimes I just go in there and just, well, I want to hit this. So I just go in there and hit stuff. And looking back, like if it was me coaching me, I'd have been like, fuck this dude. He's not listening. But like at the time, it was kind of like we probably weren't a good fit for each other. Like that, like different people's coaching styles just don't fit for certain people, and it's not a. Obviously, he's a good coach. He's got a ton of clients. And he's a great athlete himself. And me personally, I've never really meshed well with another coach. So it's not. I'm not gonna say it's him. It's definitely a me. It's not you. It's me.
Yeah. So after 5 coaches, there's one common factor.
I don't like what they're. It's not I don't like what they're doing. I'm just like I feel like after doing it for so long, I know what works for me, and if I feel like something's not hitting the right way, I'm like no. Yeah. But also at the same time, that's kind of it gives you a fault too, because it's like I know what I don't like, and I'm not gonna do it. So like if I don't like doing, like GHDs or something, I'm not gonna do them. It probably helped me out a lot, honestly. But if I don't want to do it, I'm not gonna do it, and nobody's gonna tell me to do it because guess who coaches me? Me. So.
Well, you've been doing it long enough that you'll find an alternative to work just as well. When you're younger, you probably wouldn't be able to do that because you wouldn't know what those alternatives would be.
So like, those younger years, I'm like trying stuff. I'm like, okay, well, I don't like this. Sometimes because it just didn't feel good. Like it makes my back hurt, whatever the case may be. But like, I also feel like I wasn't getting any like carryover return from it. But looking back now, if I did some of those things now, I probably would actually get something from it because like I haven't done it in so long. And that's something I look kind of introspectively in my training. Like I should probably do a little bit of this for a little bit to kind of round myself out a little bit. So
how would you define your training philosophy now? Take injuries out, right? That changes it, right? We'll talk about that later, but take that out. But everything's going well. Well, let's do it this way. So you have a meet, the meet's over. Then what do you do? Kind of how do you block that out after the meet?
So after meet, I'm the classic take a week off guy because I'm beat up. I don't jump back into anything. So after that, I'm probably going straight into some volume. I like volume. I feel like I feed off of it really well. So I go straight in like sets of 8, sets of 6 to 8.
So when you say volume, your main lifts is what you're talking about.
I hit hard, like heavy squats. Like I don't really mix it up too crazy. Like I do like camera bar stuff. I'll throw chains on. My training is kind of like a mixture of a little, not conjugate and not straight linear progression, but it's kind of a mesh of all of it. And I'll also like auto regulate. Like if something's not feeling right, I'll be like, okay, we can push a little bit today, but I'll try to stay in a pocket. You know? So I'll give myself a range for like a top end and be like, I could probably hit this to this today, but if it's not feeling too hot, I'll dial it back to like, let's say I'm benching, I'll be like, okay, let's do 420 to 450 for a top end. And if I'm feeling good, we'll push it to that 450, 440. But if I'm not feeling good, I don't feel bad mentally for like not being able to hit that 450.
So how long does that 6 to 8 rep phase last?
For me, I'll usually push it like, if I can push it longer than like 6 weeks, I will. I try not to, like, I know a lot of people like to schedule their blocks out like straight up like 4 weeks or 6 weeks. I try not to marry myself to a set time frame until I'm like in like a prep or something. Then I need to like go into like more of a peaking phase. But like if I'm just building an off season, I'll stretch it out as long as I can. If I'm still making some gains from it, I'll push it. So
if it's 8 weeks and let's say the bench is 405 for 8, do you dial that way back to where that first week's going to be like 300 for 8s?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Like I like to like start that easy because like if I'm starting at like 300, I make it easy those first couple weeks, and then I'll jump to probably 20, 30 pounds and make those bigger jumps. And if I can and once I get to about 4 to 6 weeks in, I know I'll be somewhere that's going to be like PR territory rep wise. So if I can push it past that, like I'll set it up so that when I hit 6 weeks, that's probably going to be the max. But if I can push it beyond that, I know I'm actually in a PR range.
So you'll ride that as long as you can. Yeah. Well, based upon a meet, you're going to ride it as long as you can.
So I could probably squeeze out maybe another week or two.
Yeah.
And if that's the case, I'm like, cool, we're trending in the right direction, so I can keep going.
So in the initial phase of this, are there multiple sets or eights? And then those trim down as you go forward?
Yeah. Yeah, I like to do like, I'll probably do like a 3x8 or like a 4x6 is kind of what I like to do. And I'll push a little bit more if I need the volume, but I'm not killing myself for it. You know what I'm saying? So probably 4 to 6 sets of like 6 to 8 if I can push it. And if I'm feeling good, we'll push that on for like 6 to 8 weeks. Usually 6 weeks.
The same for the squat, bench, and deadlift.
Yeah, deadlifts are weird for me. So squat and bench, I can kind of push this in the same way. But for me with deadlifts, deadlifts are tricky, and I haven't really figured them out yet, honestly, for myself. But like I'll usually keep the sets will be like a little high, but I'll dial the volume down. Like not the volume, I'll dial the reps on those sets down to like 4s instead of doing like 6 to 8s. Because I pull sumo, so if I'm pulling 6 to 8s, my hips will be fried, and then it's going to impact my squats.
Yeah.
And I found that out actually going into the American Pro. I was like, let me try to mix my volume up a little higher on deads, and it was working out really well until I put wraps on and I squat a little wider, and my hips were shot. And I was like, okay, something's gonna have to give here. I'm either gonna be deadlifting or I'm gonna be squatting, and ended up not being able to actually deadlift. I could squat, but I couldn't deadlift. My hips got shot. So I learned that lesson the hard way. So for me, I have to like keep the overall volume on deadlifts a little bit lower to keep my hips from dying. But I also, so for that, I'll do some conventional too. I hate pulling conventional because, like I said, in 2013, I threw my back out.
Yeah.
So conventional doesn't work out too well for me, but I can mix the volume up.
So it's kind of a break from the sumo.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
And how's the week laid out? Because apparently there's obviously a squat day, a bench day, a deadlift day. Is that it?
So I usually I'll have like 4 training days, and I usually squat on in the week on squats. So it'll be on like a Saturday, and I'll start on a Monday with bench. So I'll bench Mondays. Usually I'll deadlift on like Wednesday, and I'll have a secondary bench day on like Thursday. And then I'll deadlift on I'll squat on the Saturday. So it gives me time for my like legs to recover after the deads.
Yeah.
But it spaces it out so nothing's like too fatigued by the time I circle back to it.
With your staying in that rep phase, let's just call it that, right? The rep phase. What do your accessories look like during that time?
So
let me put this out there. I'm going to assume you're still going off how you feel after that main lift, right?
Yeah.
So let's just look at this as perfect day. You always feel great, which isn't true. But if that's the case, how many accessories would there be in that rep phase, or not a lot?
So I usually, like for example, if I'm doing like squats, I'll like jump back into like front squats, or I'll hit I don't like to do too much leg press. I do like the squat pro, or
is it like a belt squat thing?
Kind of. It's like it's kind of like it kind of feels like a Smith machine, but more free.
Okay.
And it fries my legs, but I love it. So I'll hit something like that. And honestly, I try to keep the reps super high on my accessories, because I want to like really get that pump going for those. So I'm like hitting usually the 12 to 14 range for reps, but I'll hit like 3 to 4 sets. And I'll keep it pushing, especially on like for legs. If I can keep it pushing to 4 to 5 sets, I'll do it. And with like a bench, if I'm hitting our triceps, I'm hitting those until I can't anymore. Like that's just me, because I know my bench is a little it's lagging for me. But I'll push my tricep work and my pull work on my push work, on bench days to like pretty much to failure.
Okay. So how many movements?
3 to 4. Like I'll probably hit mostly I'm gonna hit tricep extensions, and I actually like doing Tate press so they don't tear my elbows up too much. And close grip.
So with all those, you're just looking to fatigue the triceps as much as you can.
Yeah.
Are you controlling your tempo at all, or are you pushing those as hard as you can?
Usually I'm just pushing it. Yeah. I'm not a big fan of tempo work. I don't feel like I've tried it and I don't feel like it gave me a whole lot. I've seen like my friend Joe Sullivan, he likes to do I've seen him do like the zero acceleration. He likes tempo work. And I tried it with him too, with bench. And I didn't really feel like it made a difference. So I just keep pushing everything explosively, and I kind of do it that way.
Your accessory is the same way?
Yeah. So
now if staying in that same phase, the squats don't feel like they should, do you pull the accessories to help recover, or do you just taper them down?
I will. Yeah. If squats are like, if I'm dying after squats, I won't push it too hard, especially with the way my back and my knees are sometimes. I'm like, okay, I probably can't do the squat rock out. Probably can't do leg press today because my knees won't be able to handle the force on it. So
do you pivot or just not do anything else?
Honestly, sometimes I just won't do it.
Yeah.
Yeah. Like I can, maybe it's just me, maybe it's a genetics thing, but I can sometimes get by with like just mixing accessories on like squats sometimes. And I try not to on bench, but I will do it on deadlifts too, because I gotta save what I got left. You know what I'm saying? So if I have to pull back on deads or squats, I will, just so I can keep training and pushing the main lift.
Now, once you're at the back end of that phase, hitting rep PRs or whatever it is, does that get you pretty much right to where you want to be to start prepping for a meet, or do you need some transition phase?
Yeah, usually I can go straight to it.
Okay.
Yeah.
Then how long do you optimally would you like to have before a meet?
Probably about 16 to 18 weeks.
All right. And then how do you lay that out?
So I usually do about these I usually do 4 to 6 weeks. That's why I said 16 to 18. So I have like a week to kind of pivot between. But 4 to 6 weeks is like a little extra volume, like a volume phase. And then I'm pushing before I start peaking, I do another 4 to 6 weeks, a little less volume, more intensity. So I just kind of scale it up, kind of linear progression style, honestly, keep it simple.
So when it starts, if you're going from the 8s, are you at 5s?
Yeah, I'll start from like 6 to 8s, and then I'll probably do like 4 to 6. And then once I'm peaking, I'm pretty much just hitting triples and then doubles, singles.
How far is that out when you start peaking?
About 4 to 5 weeks, yeah.
And the accessories, how do you manage those? Just regulate those?
Yeah, I pretty much just regulate them. I'll keep those high up until I'm peaking. And then I'll kind of dial the accessories back so I can recover more and focus more on the actual like higher intensity lifts. So
how will you know how do you gauge how your recovery is if we're in that peaking phase? Because like sometimes you can think you're just wimping out.
It's a mental thing sometimes. Like it's like, okay, I feel like I should be here, but I'm not. So if I have to, I'll kind of like pull back to see if my recovery, like I'll take a day, like for benches. If I'm like I told you, I have to like a secondary bench day. I'll sometimes have like a secondary squat too. So my deadlift day, well, I'll do like fronts or something, but I'll take those out, like that secondary bench. I'll take that out, or I'll take the secondary squat out of my deadlift day, so I can have a little extra oomph on my main days when I'm peaking. Yeah. So that kind of helps with the fatigue, and that's usually how I manage it. Like I said earlier, I'll push that up until I can't. But if I'm feeling like something's not hitting right, once I get towards that peaking phase, I'll pull those out. Will you put them back in if you have to pull them out sooner? You know, say you're 8 weeks out and it's like that oh shit moment. Like I shouldn't be this beat up. Yeah, I shouldn't be hurting like this far out. But it's like sometimes you got to make those game time decisions so you can actually make it to the meet, you know? Yes. As you've gotten better and better, those game time decisions, how frequently do those occur? Not Thank you. Yeah. Not too often. I think most recently would be like the American Pro, where I had to make that the switch from the with the squats and deads, I was like, okay, I'm gonna have to pull deads a little bit.
Yeah.
To let my hips recover.
Mm-hmm.
But not too often. Bench, I can push on through. The only time I've had to make a decision like that is like if I have some tendonitis flaring up with the elbows. But that's pretty rare. I had to adjust with like squats. I brought my width out from my grip to save my elbows, and it actually worked out. So it gives me a better stable shelf for me personally. So more recently, I haven't had to really make too many adjustments like those game time decisions. But the most recent one was just the squat thing with the deadlifts.
Would you say that it's less now because you're starting at better weights on your prep?
Probably just a little bit more intuitive.
Yeah. It's I guess what I'm trying to say is some lifters will get greedy because things feel good, and then they pay for it a few weeks later.
Yeah.
If you gotten past that part.
Honestly, like my first couple of years training myself, like my son will say couple, my first like probably 5 years training myself, I would get greedy, and I would kind of blow my load early, you know what I'm saying? And I had to make those adjustments in the middle of prep, and I'm like, damn, you know, and it kind of probably impacted my meet performance. But like now I'm like, I don't get greedy. Like I said earlier, I set those ranges, and if I'm feeling good, I'll stick to my max range. I'm like, I'm not gonna go above that because there's no need to.
Yeah.
This at this point in training. But like if I want to hit, 500 on bench at like 3 or 4 weeks out, and I'm not hitting that, that's when I'm like, oh shit. But if I'm hitting 500, 510 at 3 or 4 weeks out as planned, it's like, okay, everything is going as planned, so we can keep it pushing. And that's kind of usually how I keep the intuitive training going for that.
When will you start to peel things back for the meet?
Probably around that 4 week mark. You mean like for accessories?
Yeah, accessories, but also for the main lifts.
So I'll pull the volume back around a mix around like 6 weeks out, 6 to 8 weeks out. I'll slowly start transitioning the total volume down so I can kind of recover a little bit more while the intensity comes up.
When's your last pull then?
My last pull is usually about 17 days out, 18 days out. So almost 3 weeks.
Okay.
I'll push it to a full 3 weeks if I need to, if things are feeling a little wonky. But it gives me more time to push those squats too.
Yeah. When's the last squat then?
Last squat's usually 2 weeks out.
All right, so and then the bench 7 days.
Yeah. I keep the intensity higher on bench because it kind of, if I pull the intensity on bench too early, I feel like it impacts my meet performance. I feel like that bench is one of those lifts you have to keep intensity relatively high, like almost the whole time. Like you can start off early with the lower stuff, the lower intensity, and keep your volume up, but like you kind of have to manage both in a good way all the way up through your peaking. So for me, I'm hitting 90 to 98% up until like those last 4 weeks. So I'm gonna try to keep it high.
Yeah.
So I'll pull back though.
So on paper, if this was all kind of planned out for the meet prep, the weight range at the top of each one of these weight ranges would linearly progress.
Yeah.
But the reality of is 1 week actually may be lower than, so week 1 may be higher than week 2, right? Because this one's top of the range and this is lower than the range, right?
Yeah.
And so if people looked at the log laid all out, they'd be, without knowing the ranges, they'd be like, what the hell are you doing?
Yeah, they'd be like, oh, this is not looking good.
Yeah.
But like for me, it's like, no, this is where it needs to be.
Yeah. But if you back out, you'll linearly
I'm still making that progress. Yeah. It's where it needs to be without pushing myself too hard and also not messing with my mental.
Yeah.
Because if you set those iron numbers out, like some people like if you train straight on percentage, like you have to hit 83% today, you got to hit 88% this day, and you don't. Now you're like, well, damn, I'm not getting stronger. And I know, like when I was younger, earlier in my lifting career, it's like I would really marry those numbers, and I'm like, if I can't hit it today, I suck.
Yeah.
Well, no, man, you don't suck today. Like you got you got life going on. Like you might be stressed today. You might not have slept well. You probably didn't drink enough water. You didn't eat good. Life happens, you know. And like after being like in the military 13 years, like I'm stressed from work. I got to do stupid PT tests, stuff that I don't want to do, but it's my job, and it stresses me out. I own a home. I got to deal with the house stuff. I'm married, you know. Marriage is work too, and I gotta manage my dogs. Those are basically my kids. So it's like sometimes you're not gonna be at that 100% today, and that's okay. You gotta, like, younger lifters, they feel like you gotta hit it today. You gotta hit the day. No, you don't.
Yeah.
The day that matters is the meet day.
Yes.
You hit it in training, cool, but that's not what's going to go on open powerlifting at the end of the day.
Well, you do it long enough, you force yourself to hit it on that day, but then you have this reality check like the day after where you start thinking about the next week.
Yeah, you're like, shit, well, now I got to go up.
Yeah, it goes up 20, 30 pounds.
Yeah.
You're like, man, I barely made that, right? And I think that's how a lot of people end up tripling in training more than they could do at a meet, because they overreach or overextend, or they peaked
too early.
Yeah, peaked too early. With the meat preps, what's the best meat prep that you've had looking back? Not the actual meat, right? Because
it's inverse. I think one of my best preps was probably before, and I can't remember the exact numbers, but I think it was before. I think it was the USPA Pro Raw, whatever it was called, and it was a great prep. I was going in there, I was like, I'm gonna hit like an 800 and some change squat. I was planning on opening with like a 780 squat and breaking the record on my second attempt, and then going for like 830, 840. And the prep was awesome. Meet day, abysmal. Just terrible. Like, that meet put me in a depression after this, man. Like, it was like because my training was so good. It looked good on Instagram. Everybody was like, man, you're gonna kill it, you're gonna kill it. I thought I was gonna kill it, and it killed me. But so I showed up, and I think what really happened, a lot of people like speculated like, oh, his weight cut was bad. Like he cut a lot of weight. I didn't. I've cut way more before. That's why I was like confident this is gonna be good. What I think ended up happening is I just didn't have enough like I don't think I had enough electrolytes. I think my magnesium was low because I was super brain fogged. There was no mind muscle connection. I was warming up, and like squats were like 600 was heavy. And I was like, something's off, man. I don't think something was right. And I was talking to Joe, and he was like, man, you probably just didn't drink enough water. I'm like, bro, I drank 2 gallons of water. He's like, you should have drank 3. Like, I don't think that 3rd gallon would have did it, man. But I mean, you go through so many refeeds, so many preps, and you're just like, like if something would have made the difference. And I'm like for you, that 3rd gallon might have made the difference, but for me, I don't think that was it. Not today, at least. But it turns out, I think it was really just magnesium was off, because I looked at the symptoms. Like, if you have a magnesium deficiency, it's like that brain fog, you get crampy. I ended up, my legs locked on one of my deadlifts, and I couldn't put it down. Like, I put the deadlift down, my legs were just stuck. And
just in the warm-up room?
No, this was on the platform.
On the platform.
They had to carry me off.
Oh shit.
Yeah, my legs just wouldn't unlock, man. And I tried to take the 3rd one. It was just a bad day. I think I got 2 or 3 benches. I think it went like 4 or 5 for 9 that day. What like the total wasn't terrible. I might have actually PR'd my total at the time by like a couple pounds, but it was like, it's not what you want. Yeah. So great meat prep.
What do you think led into the great meat prep? Was there anything that you changed, or things just locked in?
I think I was just locked in. There's no injuries. There's no injuries, I think, that was going on. Everything just felt good. Everything was balanced. Like, my fatigue was low. Stress was low at home, at work. But showed up, didn't show out, It was just, I think, that deficiency. So it's like, you have to make sure all your variables check. From, you can have a good prep, but you got to make sure you can execute too. So like, if you're one of those guys that's cutting weight, you got to make sure you're hitting every little detail to make sure your refeed is good, so you can actually perform on the day. Because
how much do you cut on average?
On average, right now I'm probably cutting like 10, 15. Like, I'm not that heavy once I moved up to 220. But I think when I was 198, I was cutting about 20.
So how far out do you start?
Oh, with my water cut?
Yeah.
I'll clean my diet up a little bit. I eat like shit, but I'll clean my diet up a little bit about 2 weeks out. Like, to kind of like, I'll kind of stay away from like less fried food. I'll stop eating out, no McDonald's. And that'll help take off a pound or 2. Cause like, I'm like, cool, you're not bloated, you're not eating shit. And it's like, cool. But for like the water load, I'll probably start, if I'm super heavy, if I know I need to cut like 20, I'll probably cut it about 10 days. And I'll start water loading around 7 to 10 days out. And that'll help a whole lot. So But then if I can get to about 7 pounds or less to cut the day before weigh-ins, that's gonna be hard, but it's like that's doable. If it's more than 7, it's gonna suck. If it's more than 10, you're screwed. You're screwed. Especially if you've been loading water for 7 to 10 days and you still got 10 pounds to go. You can make it, but it's gonna impact you a little bit, depending on how heavy you are. Obviously, if you're a heavyweight and you gotta cut 10 pounds, and you're not gonna feel shit, you'll be fine. But for leaner guys or like people under 200, that 10 pounds on the day before is gonna hurt.
So when you start pulling the water out, eliminating 3 days, 2 days?
I'll cut water not completely, but I won't drink anything the day before weigh-ins usually.
So that's when it starts to suck.
Yeah, well, if I switch to distilled water the day before, the day before weigh-ins, it already sucks. So I'm probably because the distilled water is like stripping all the the minerals out of your body, and just like your mouth is dry. It's like dry water. That makes no sense, right?
No, I get it.
Yeah, you drink that distilled water, you're like, it was nothing. I'm still thirsty. So, and then I think really what hurts you the most, what makes you start feeling it, is like when you cut like sodium, and you're just like the water's just flowing out of you like a geyser, but you're still putting it in, but you're like, I'm thirsty. You wake up the next day and you got to cut, and you go down to like distilled or something. You're thirsty, and then the next day you can't drink anything, and it's because it's the day before weigh-ins. Yeah. You're just like, I can't eat or drink. You want to fight somebody. You don't have energy to, but you'd like to. I helped a lifter do a water load not too long ago, actually for the Arnold. And she surprised me. She cut like 23 pounds, dude. She's a 198er. She cut like 23 pounds, and she made me nervous because she was like 214 the night before the day before weigh-ins. She was like 214, and then she woke up 207. Oh no, she woke up like 205. So how the fuck did you cut? You lose 14, like 10 pounds of water almost. But I think she said she just drank the last bit of her water like right before bed. And I'm like, okay, cool. Well, you scared the shit out of me, but cool. But she ended up putting back on like 20, 22.
In 24 hours?
Yeah. So I got my memory is shit, but I'll have my like stuff laid out on my phone. Like I have to keep notes, and like I'll follow that whole protocol like that. And if I need to cut like sodium or something not early. I like to keep those last variables in check. Like if I don't have to cut sodium or have to cut carbs, then I won't until I need to. Like I'm eating like 50 carbs a day, and I still got to train. But if I don't have to, like the cut's only like 10 pounds. Like right now I'm about 228 right now. So if I had to cut to 220, I wouldn't cut. I'm eating like 150 carbs. I'm not going to 50 carbs. Yeah. Like I still got to train. But if I'm 235 or 240, it's like, well, I haven't got to 240. But if I'm 235, I'm gonna do that 50 carbs. I'm gonna hate it, but I'm gonna follow the whole thing to a T. But if I'm close, I give myself a little flexibility. Everybody else can't do that, obviously, But I know because I followed it a few times, like where I can kind of have some wiggle room, and when I don't. So right now I'm lucky because I'm at 220 right now. But if I was 198, I'd have to be like to a T for everything.
When you say that you eat like shit, how that can mean a lot of things to a lot of people, So
yeah. Man, I like McDonald's.
Yeah,
I like barbecue. I like burritos.
So is everything you put in your mouth that?
Not everything.
That's where I'm going.
But it's enough. Yeah,
it's enough. Well, what's enough? Like 20%, 40%, 50%.
Man, I hate to even put a number on it.
Yeah.
Probably day. Like, it depends. Like if I feel like warming up the chicken and rice, or do I want to cook today? Like I'm like, man, I don't want this shit today, And I'll check my weight. And I'm like, like 230, 225, 228. You can have a burger today.
Okay, so that's how you're managing it. So
like if I'm not too like big, I'm like, I can treat myself today and not worry about it too much.
Yeah, but if you're close and you got to.
If I know I'm sitting here, I'm a little chub, my cheeks a little fat. I'm like, well, you need to go eat that chicken and rice, dog. So that's my terrible level of discipline, but it keeps me somewhat in check. If I was cutting to 198, like I could totally get back down to 198. I don't want to.
It would just suck.
Yeah, it would suck.
Yeah.
And it's like John hacks there. So I'm like, I'm good here. I fought him enough. That's my boy. But I'm like, hey, man, you got it. Just when you come up, we can talk about it again. But I'm not going all the way down and hurting myself to fight with your ass.
Yeah. So with the McDonald's, what's your go-to?
Now we're talking. I like a double quarter pounder with bacon, extra cheese, extra pickles. And I know everybody's probably gonna listen and be like, extra cheese, it already has 2 slices. Yes, I want 3. It makes it, because honestly, McDonald's, they don't put enough condiments on there, but that cheese will make everything it makes it smooth, man.
Smooth.
It makes it smooth. It's like velvety almost. Like, it's perfect. I love me a double quarter.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's my go-to.
All right. So other fast food.
Okay. Other fast food.
So if that's the go-to, I don't want to say, and that's not around. It's like, that's never the case, right?
There's always a McDonald's somewhere.
Yeah.
Honestly though, like next to probably do that Popeye's chicken sandwich, the spicy chicken sandwich. That thing fucks, man. And I know I love Chick-fil-A's chicken sandwich. Their spicy chicken sandwich has nothing on it, and I can explain why. And I might get shit for this, and I don't care.
Yeah.
This is why you guys tuned into the podcast. It's not about training. This is why we're here. When you go to Popeyes, you get that chicken sandwich, man. You're getting a piece of chicken that's this thick. Okay, it's crispy. You're getting that nice bun. When you go to Chick-fil-A, it's still good. I know it's the Lord's chicken. It's still good. It's not bad. But it's smushed. Your chicken's that big. Nah, man, this chicken at Popeyes is gonna be juicy. It's thick. You got those deli pickles, whatever kind of pickles they are on there. That chicken sandwich, it was made for us. You know what I'm saying? That is the chicken sandwich you want. There's a reason why those lines are so long when they first came out. People were dying for chicken sandwiches, man.
A real one.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
But yeah, no, that's I like those chicken sandwiches. I like a little Zaxby's too. Those are probably what I put in my rotation. If it's not that, I like Panda Express. That makes me feel good about like fast food. I'm like, it's chicken, right? It might be a little. I'm gonna have my orange chicken because it's fried, right? But then I'm gonna make myself feel good. I'm gonna get the teriyaki chicken. Like it's chicken thighs, but it's
like cleaner.
Yeah, it's not fried. It's fine. It's a little fat on it, but like we need fat. It's fine. Balance.
Do you have any idea? Do you try to keep your protein in a certain intake?
Not really. Like I will actually watch my macros more if I'm like when I was cutting to 198, I was watching my macros like a lot harder. I was eating like probably 200 to 220 protein, and I was eating about 300, 350 carbs, and I wanted to keep it in that range to make sure I was good. Fats, whatever, 70 is probably the max I need to be at, but I'm probably closer to like 120. Who cares? But I'd probably still be roughly in that ballpark. I'm somewhere close to that. I try to make sure I get enough protein. Am I? I don't know because I'm not tracking it, but I know I'm eating enough.
It's close enough.
Yeah, I'm definitely eating enough. But I might be like a little short. Like if I'm shooting for like 230 grams of protein, that's a decent amount of protein for a day. I'm probably getting like 190, 200. I'm maintaining, you know what I'm saying? So there's a small balance. Like I said, I don't eat great, like you guys all heard, but like
it could be regular, way worse.
It could be worse. Like I'm not going out every single day getting McDonald's. I'm getting like I'm taking my chicken and rice to work. Me and my wife, we'll trade who's making the chicken. It's usually me, and she'll make the rice because we have a rice cooker. So I'm doing the kitchen work. It's funny, right?
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, we'll make the chicken and rice, and we get bored with it. So it's like, you want some hothead burritos today? I'm like, yeah, let's go get some Chipotle. So it's not the worst fast food, but I try to keep it somewhat in the range I need to be.
All right. What about a meat prep that was a disaster, but the meat went great?
I hate to say it. Well, probably the American Pro, this most recent one. The meat, I won't say the meat went great. It went better than I thought it would, especially considering what everything happened. So meat prep was crazy, right? Well, my deadlifts, hips were dying. So, and then every time I went to squat, I'm falling out of the rack. You guys go look at my Instagram page. I'm flying out of the rack, dumping bars. I'm like, it's terrible. Like, I can't get this to work. I think it was a Dynabody we were training on, and that damn thing sucked.
Oh, the swing, it's got more swing.
Got too much swing that I couldn't. It's just like I just couldn't get set. So every time I'd pop up, my pick would feel good, but I'm like I'm leaning or I'm falling forward, not go down, come back up, but I'm losing balance somewhere, and it killed my confidence in my squat. And on top of that too, like it was like I had some pretty rough injuries earlier in the year, so I'm like I'm trying to come back, and I wanted to hit 1,000-pound squat. I'm like I'm over here dying with 900, and it's pissing me off. However, I ended up going to the meet and got hurt again, but I still ended up squatting like 881 easy, and hurt myself a little bit, but bench was okay, even with one leg. So I look at it like that. Like I'm competing with one leg after squats. I'm like I don't have no leg drive from my left leg, and I'm deadlifting with a sleeve on just so I can feel less pain when I'm trying to lock my knees out. And I managed to still win the meet, and I can't be mad at that. I was like, okay, I won overall with one leg, and I didn't hit any of the goals I really wanted, but you have to take those things in stride sometimes. It's like, okay, you had a terrible prep, your confidence was low, you got hurt all year, you got hurt here again, but you came out on top. You're not dying. So it's like.
Now, when was your major quad tear? Was that before that prep?
Yeah, it was late January last year. I was prepping for a Ghost Clash, and man, I was feeling good because earlier that year I went to I think we went to what was it? The Rhino Cage, I think is what it was called, at the Olympia. That's what it was. And I scored like 800, man, and it flew. And Joe was there, and like I was telling him, like, I'm gonna take your record, man. It's like 800, it like popped up. I'm like, I could have went like 830 right now. I'm feeling good. So I'm training, and fast forward to January, because that was in December, I think. So fast forward to January, and I'm like, I had planned to hit, I think 771 for a double or a triple, and I think I think at this point we're like 5 or 6 weeks out. Maybe 4 weeks out. So I'm hitting those doubles and triples. I'm like, okay, but this is the range I want. 770 should be easy. So I hit the first one, no problem. It flew like as expected. So I'm like, okay, I probably got a triple. That would have been a huge PR. I went down for the second one and just felt rips in both quads. Tore my vastus medialis and my lateralis on opposite legs. And ended up in the hospital for like 5 days. It wasn't no tendons, so that's a good part. It was a quick bounce back, but like my kidneys were like, yo, you need to get off of this. And like my legs were swelling up to the point I couldn't walk. I went to the hospital the first day, and they were telling me, well, we can't do anything for you, but you just go home. And they gave me a crutch, and was like,
why were you in there for 4 days or whatever? Was it a weekend?
Well, so I went home after the first day, and then after like a day or two, like my legs started swelling to the point I'm dragging it. I'm like, I can't, like it was bad at first, but like I'm literally dragging this leg to like to move, and I'm like, I don't think it's gonna work, man. And my wife is like, we're taking you back to the hospital. I'm like, oh, I'm good. And she's like, no. I'm like, why? She said we're going to the hospital, and they took me back in there, and they're like, you have severe rhabdo. Like you have blood pooling up in the back of this leg. We're gonna put you in bed. You're not leaving the bed until we say so. I was like, all right. So I'm stuck in this bed, not showering, not moving. Couldn't get up to go pee. I had to pee in this little cup thing for like 4 days while they were checking my blood every other couple hours. They were coming in at all hours of the night, measuring my legs to make sure it's going down. So yeah, I was just stuck. I mean, after that initial and dealing with the pain of that, after that, it was a pretty smooth recovery. Because like I said, it was just muscle tears, but I guess because I was still moving around on it, I was making it worse. And they were like, no, you need to elevate these legs. They had some weird air pump things on my quad, on my calves to kind of like keep blood flowing or something like that. And I guess that's really, I just needed to rest.
Yeah. How long did it take till you could walk?
Let's see, I left the hospital. This was about a week and a half after the incident. And I was using a wheelchair and a rollator for like 3 or 4 days after that. So about 2 weeks, I was able to kind of like, I could walk on my own, kind of like drag my legs a little bit, kind of teeter-totter around. And about around the 3-week mark, like 3 full weeks, I'm like, I can take good steps, you know. Around 4 weeks, I can do like almost a body weight squat. I can kind of go up the steps. I can take one step at a time. Because I was sleeping on the couch for like 2-3 weeks because I couldn't make it upstairs to my room. So yeah, I think I was walking around like 3 or 4. About 3 weeks I was walking. 4 weeks I was doing like a body weight squat, and then around like that same 4 or 5 week mark, I was hitting like I was doing like some trap bar. I had a trap bar with the open one that Kabuki makes, and I was squatting with it. So it's like 45 pounds, and I could do that for like a couple reps, real slow. So yeah, around like 6 weeks, I'm squatting with a barbell again.
How long were you off work?
Till I could walk. So about 3 weeks. I was like, yeah, I can't come in, dog. Like, they gave me medical convalescent leave for that for a little bit. So they were like, yeah, he's not gonna be able to come in. Cause I'm like, I'm not finna roll in here with this.
Yeah.
You know, be dragging my leg around. But so I was 3 weeks off, and it was a good 3 weeks. So I didn't miss the work at all, but so much stuff piled up. But
well, with 3 weeks off, I've had hip replacements and shit, so I kind of know that thing. And so you're stuck at home, right? So what are you doing? Like Netflix, like every episode of Grey's Anatomy? Like,
yeah, it was a lot.
Right, how'd you pass the time?
There was a lot of TV, a little bit of moping.
Well, yeah.
I think that first day back, I like tried to pick something up off the ground, drop something, I couldn't pick it up. I broke down. I was like, stupid. And my wife said, "What's wrong?" Like, I can't pick this damn thing up off the ground. Like, it's like I started crying. Like, it's fucking dumb. But yeah, like those 3 weeks at home, I was just pretty much just couch surfing, man, watching TV. My wife was like pretty much waiting on me hand and foot. I can't like get off the couch. Well, I guess it wasn't 3 weeks. It was probably like a week and a half while I was actually at home before I could like move around on my own. That was it. Pretty much just surfing the internet on my iPad, coaching my handful of clients, and then just trying to watch a little bit of TV. Wife's going to school, so I'm just kind of stuck at home. My stepmom was there. She came and he came and took care of me. Her and my brother came and stayed for a few days, so we had some family time, so that was nice. So in the end, the grand scheme of things, it was like I got some family time, got some time off work, and watched a whole lot of TV.
Yeah. So a quasi vacation that you can't move.
Super painful.
Yeah.
Little vacay. Yeah.
So how do you navigate coming back? Because there's coming back physically, then there's coming back mentally as well.
I think the physical part was the easiest, honestly. And I honestly, after the only time I had that one breakdown I had where I was like, I couldn't pick up, I think it was a pin I dropped. That pissed me off, man. But after that, I think I was good.
Yeah.
I was like,
so squatting wise, you didn't have to deal, your brain wasn't thinking when the weight started to get heavier, it's going to blow out again? Well,
Dave, I was actually good until I think yesterday, actually.
Oh, yesterday.
Yeah. I was and I'll tell you why. So coming back, I was like, okay, everything's feeling fine. You know, I would take everything a day at a time. I was like, no pain. Every time I hit something, it was no pain. I would put a red on. All right, next week I'll put 2 reds on. I'm like, cool. We're going to push it until you feel something. Didn't feel any pain up until like, I don't think ever. Because I waited about 4 or 5 weeks, I said, was when I was starting to squat with a barbell. But it was on like, I had like a 5 on there. I was like, cool. So it's 10 more pounds than I had on the Kabuki bar. So cool. And then I went to a red the next week. And then I went to 2 reds and then 3 reds. And it gave me some confidence. So I didn't feel any pulling or anything in my quads. So I was like, okay, we're probably going to be fine. So I started squatting again and everything was good. And it didn't really mess with my mental at the time. I was like, cool, this is fine. Until I got hurt again. And I didn't really think about it after that either until yesterday when I was in the cage. I went down with like, I think it was 850 I had on there with an Andy Wang wrapped me, and I was going down with it, and all I could think of was like, please don't rip, please don't rip. And I was like, this is the first time I had like PTSD from these injuries. I'm going down with each rep. I'm like praying nothing tears off again.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, that was the first time it like really hit me. Like, you are kind of spooked, man.
Mm-hmm.
But I mean, I was fine.
Still did it though.
Yeah, I did it, no problem.
Mm-hmm.
I was like, and I don't think it messed with me at all. I think what got me to think about it that much was like everybody was like, "Hey, don't get hurt, don't get hurt, don't get hurt." People kept telling me that in my inbox, like, "Good luck, don't get hurt." I'm like, "You worried about you getting hurt yourself?" I'm like,
I wasn't.
Yeah, like I was fine. Like, you guys kept telling me like, "Don't get hurt." And a couple of my friends made it a joke, started messaging, "Oh, you don't hurt yourself, haha." I'm like, "All right, you guys are funny," but I gotta tell people like this is a sport where you can potentially hurt yourself any day of the week. Honestly, I went 12 years in the sport before I had like a major injury, and it was just those quad tears. You know,
Mm-hmm.
hospital for a few days. It wasn't a tendon. Haven't torn anything off the bone, so I'm like, I feel pretty lucky.
Mm-hmm.
You know, some guys are out here, you know, they're tearing biceps, tearing pecs, and tearing whole like quad tendons are getting ruptured. I'm like, if they can come back and do it, I'm fine.
Yeah.
Like, a quad tear hurts. It sucks, but it's like, you'll be fine in a couple weeks.
Mm-hmm.
In all honesty, unless you tear 2, then it might take you about 4 or 5. So you can't walk with both legs. It hurts a little bit longer.
Mm-hmm. So how do you navigate just the little minor pulls and stuff that happen throughout prep?
Some auto regulation, really, just kind of like, okay, at this point, I try to be a lot more mindful of like when something's not feeling too hot.
Mm-hmm.
I've kind of accumulated a lot of small little injuries, like the back thing with the sciatica. So I have to really be mindful of that, because that'll knock me out for like a week,
Mm-hmm.
and that's a week or 2 of training that I'm like either in pain or like I can't walk well. So I have to watch out for that. And then if I feel anything pulling now in a quad or in a hamstring, I'm like, that's it for the day. Like, we just have to
shut it down.
Yeah, because I mean, if you think about it, this is I tell a lot of newer listeners too. Like, I'm like, this is a marathon, dude. It's not a sprint. A lot of guys want to get, you know, super strong. They want to bench 500 tomorrow. They want to squat 600, 700, 800 today. I'm like, it took me 12, 13 years to get where I'm at now. I'm like, and I'm okay with that. Like, I'm still young. I'm only 31. I got a few good years left, so just take your time. You'll get there.
Well, they would say you're okay with it because you're doing it.
Right. But it's like, but I had to pay my dues. I'm like, you guys are trying to get here tomorrow, and it's like, I kind of get it, because I guess at the time back when I was coming up, these numbers were nobody was hitting numbers like not raw, at least, you know. You seeing people deadlift 900 pounds and squatting 900 pounds, and it's just like that. Nobody was doing that in 2011. Not raw. Raw was not really. It wasn't big like it is now. So like, I kind of grew up in this sport essentially where all these numbers are big now. It's like, you guys are jumping into raw immediately, and you're already strong. Like, you guys are way stronger than me when I was like 18, 19. Like, I told you my numbers, 300-pound deadlift. Like, I wasn't doing anything special. It just took me a while. So I'm like, if you guys are 18, 19, and you're already benching 300 and squatting 400 or 500, you leagues ahead of me, you'll catch me eventually. I'm just trying to stay ahead of you guys before I bow out, you know?
So if we go through each lift, when you squat, how do you set up and how do you place yourself? And if it's a maximum weight, you know, there's things that you're registering in your head, you know, as far as where the tension is and so forth. So walk me through like a max squat for you. Okay.
So in sleeves, I do sleeves and wraps. So sleeves, I'm mostly trying to make sure I'm stacked right. I prefer not to walk out. So if I'm in a mono, I try to make sure my pick is good. That's the first thing. I make sure I rotate the bar, get my width where my hands are, get my hand placement right. I look at my feet, make sure my feet are the width that I want them to be at. And then I rotate that bar. I kind of crank it on my shelf to get it where I need it to be. So I'm up where I need them. Once that feels good, I'm like, cool. So I'll then scoot back, take that deep breath in. So my rib cage is open. Take that deep breath, and then I'll pull my ribs down, compress here, and get everything stacked up. Then I'll pick. And from there, it's like, all I got to do now is sit back and maintain that rigidness and go. A little bit more steps involved when you got to walk it out.
Yeah.
And see, for walking out.
So when you're on your way down, where do you feel the tension the most? Muscular tension in your quads, back, hips?
Probably
torso.
Here, yeah, torso and upper back. I'm trying to. I need this cranked, like max capacity, and I need to have that bracing needs to be on point too. Like obviously you're gonna feel it in your legs. You're gonna feel it a little bit in your back too. Well, a lot of it in your back, a little bit. But those are like your prime movers are gonna feel it for sure. But if you don't have that tension in your trunk, you're gonna get folded. Yeah, and I know this from experience because I was American Pro last year. I had almost 1,100 pounds in my bag. It was a misload. It was a 1063. And this is the first time that I've had my tension just gone. Like it blew all my air out. I was going down with it. Felt fine. Like when you have that good tension, no matter what's on your back, you get a good pick. You're good. I didn't even know I was misloaded until I got about halfway down. I'm like, this is a little more than I'm used to. And then I lost all my air and but honestly, that tension, if you got a good brace and you breathing all the way around that belt and you have a good shelf built, you should be good. You just got to make sure you're stacked. Like, and I think you can handle pretty much any weight. At that point, you just need to make sure you're actually strong enough to lift it. Yeah. Yeah. But if your frame is good, like if you got that, if everything is stacked up, head, shoulders, knees, and toes, you got a good brace, that's half the battle. Now you just need to make sure you can actually go up and back down, go down and back up. Yeah. So what about the bench? So for bench, mostly for me, it's like I just need to make sure my hand placement is good. I think I'm ring finger on the rings, right on the rings. I don't have much of an arch, so as long as I got like those, all the my point of contact, my butt, neck is packed, and my upper traps are hitting it good, and I really try to dig my traps into it and just feel that pressure, and like. Once all that is stable, then I kind of push my feet back and really drive it some more. And then I put my ass down. And I keep that leg drive the whole time. And from there, like once I had probably about 80% full leg drive. And then once I unrack and I got the weight in my hands, and I already got my breath coming down with it. I'm holding that air, and then I put that last 20% in my leg drive to get a little bit of a kick. Because I feel like. I know, and I'm wide with my foot placement too, so my butt doesn't come off the bench. I think some people call it like a sumo bench stance. I'm like, well, you call it what you want, but that's fine. But it gives me good leg drive and it makes sure my butt doesn't come off the bench. And for me, from there is like I can give that pop without getting my butt off the bench. But it's like 80% keeps me nice and tight. But if I do the full 100, I don't have that oomph to get me off the chest. Because I'm not a super heavy. I can't dip it and then pop it. There's nothing to pop it up with, you know? So I try to get that soft touch and then drive it. Shoot. Too much drive. Then I try to drive it up with that last 20%, you know? Then the deadlift. Honestly, if I knew how to deadlift, I'd tell you. Well, the bars have changed too, right? So you got it's almost become 3 lifts, right? It's like the start, the middle, then you got to control the top. Yeah, all these bars now. You got like the Rogue Ohio bar, which is it's a deadlift bar, but it's basically a stiff bar. Honestly, I don't like it, but hey, whatever. But then there's the classic, the Texas bar, and honestly, that's probably one of my favorites. It's what I've trained on the longest, and then you got the kabuki. I like the kabuki, but you got to practice with that one. That whip at the top. It oscillates so hard. If you're like an explosive puller, as soon as you get to the top, it's gonna snatch you a little bit. So like I had to realize for that one, you got to set up, pull that slack out, and like you can't pop it too much, or if once you get locked out, it's gonna snatch you back down. That also happened at the American Pro last year. I think I locked it out, but it was oscillating so hard it gave me downward motion. I still held it, but they were like, nope. I was like, damn. And I think that cost me. I think it cost me the meet that year. might have put me in second. I'm not sure if it would have got me first, but it definitely cost me a placement because I missed 2 deadlifts because of that.
Yeah. Now, when do you get your air in the deadlift?
So for me, I get my air before I grab the bar. Yeah, because I have to. I'm so like I can't breathe in when I grab the like when I'm grabbing the bar down there. I can't get in there like that. I know some people like, especially with conventional. I can't. I gotta get my air first, and then do it. Which means I have to pull quick, or else I'm gonna pass out. Because some people hold their air too long, and that's when they, the lights go out at the top. So I get my air. Make sure I'm set up first. Make sure everything feels good. Do a couple little pumps, and I'm like, all right, cool. Then I get my air, and I grab it immediately, or try to at least, and then start to pull. Because if I get too much air and then hold it too long, I'm going down. So
hook grip.
No, I tried hook grip, and it was going pretty good until it gave me like some nerve damage or something in my thumb, and I was like, I gotta stop this because it was going fine until I was like, I was driving and stuff, and like my thumb would just be hurting, or if I'm typing at work and I'm like doing stuff at work and like my thumb's hurting. I'm like, all right, this isn't working out too much for me, and I don't really have any problems with my mixed grip. I haven't had any issues, knock on wood, with my biceps or nothing. So I'm like, it ain't broke, don't fix it. So I gave it a good try. This was literally last year. I was like, I could probably get a faster pull if I could lock in and just rip it. But I'm just I'm not gonna worry about it too much. I like the mixed grip, but as long as I keep my arms long, I don't do any bicep curls, so my arms aren't sitting here stuck like this. My arms used to be stuck like that because I used to curl so much like a bro, but like now I can actually straighten it out. So yeah, I can't do hook grip. I can do it for like 405.
Yeah.
I'll warm up with it a little bit just to kind of not get rusty and stuff like that. But nah, man, that's not for me. Power to everybody who can though.
When did the whole confessions thing start on your Instagram?
When did that start?
Or how did that start?
I think what I was doing, I think I was just asking people, like, it was kind of like an ask me anything type of deal. Or then one day, I remember I put, or tell me something. Just tell me anything. And I got a couple people that just gave me like random stories, like basically confessed to me. And I was like, that's crazy. So then I posted them, and it became like a Friday ritual almost. So I was like, cool. So that Friday rolled around again. I was like, all right, let's try confessions, And then I got a slew of them. And then the following week, I was like, all right, it's Confessions Friday. It's a theme now. And people were just telling me their dirtiest, darkest secrets. I'm going to take them to the grave, you guys, I promise. But these weren't anonymous, They're sending me these. And I'm like, if it's too long and you can't put it in the little question box, you can just send it to my DMs directly. And I would get stories, man. I would have to scroll down. I'm like, you guys got some interesting lives, man. I've learned so much about people that I've never even met. And I'll see these people in person and they're like, hey, man, it was me that sent you that thing. I was like, you shouldn't have told me that. But I forgot about it. But now I remember you're the one that did that thing. All right, cool. Yeah. Yeah, I've the stuff people are into, man. I'm not judging, but you learn a lot about people when they just they get that freedom to like open up. I think people like that. They just feel like they can open up for no reason. It's cool.
Well, like I told you when I was reading through them the other day, I'm cracking up at some of them, right? And some of them the screenshot. Then there are other ones that I'm wondering, like you can only post once you can screenshot, right?
Yeah,
because you don't want to have 5 different posts that doesn't make any sense. Yeah, I'm just wondering, what the other ones were. That can't be posted.
And honestly, those are just like some of the highlights. Like I left them up there as like an example.
It's little dots or something.
There's so many, but like after I did this for like probably a few months before that new app NGL came out. And actually a couple people also started doing it, and they were trying to I guess they were copying me, but they had bigger accounts. So it made it seem like they were doing it before me, but not that I don't care. I'm not gatekeeping it, whatever. It was fun for me either way, but there were so many. Like I was like, I'm just gonna have an example of a few of them as like kind of a highlight reel that I'm gonna put on my stories here, so people can have something to fall back on and look like, oh, this is what we did. Check the stories out. check my highlights out to see some examples. And that kind of gave people something to like, oh, these people are telling whatever. So they jump in there and just tell me whatever they wanted to. I guess it kind of gave people like a sense of security. Like, oh, some people have already told them stuff. So I'll tell them too.
Mm-hmm.
Honestly, I don't know what got into people. I don't know why they told me this stuff, but I'm cool with it. Just a random stranger on the internet. But I mean, I feel like I kind of try to give off a friendly, talk to me with cool vibe. I guess. I don't know.
Either way, it happened.
It just happened, man.
Yeah.
I'm cool with it. Like, I can enjoy like getting to know people and just talking to people, hearing about whatever they got going on in life and stuff. I'm going to forget it because my memory is terrible, but it's like, it's interesting. Like, just talking to people and learning whatever crap they got going on in their life. And then they start telling you little crazy dark secrets. You're like, whoa, man, I would have never guessed you hit a body over there, but cool. Full disclosure, I'm just kidding. Nobody's come.
No, there was none of those.
There's no murders, I promise.
Yeah. Well, I hope not.
Don't tell me that, please.
What was it like for you to break the first all-time world record?
Oh man, I remember like it was yesterday. It was such a lead up to that too.
Well, what was the lead up?
So I think it was the the current US Open 2021. And I started training with John and Hack. And I would drive down like 4 hours all the way to like San Diego to train at like Ironmongers. Not San Diego, I forget what city. It was close to San Diego. Train all the way down to Ironmongers. And I didn't really know how strong my rap squat was. I kind of hadn't really had a chance to tweak it, and I wasn't really practicing on the mono. So when I first had a chance to practice on the mono and I had a good person to rap me like consistently, because I was rapping myself and I self-rap. I'm kind of not in good shape, so I self-rap and I'd be huffing and puffing, and I try to get up, put my belt on, then wrap my sleeves. And by this time, I'm like, I'm tired. I got to grip the bar. I'm like, this not working out too well for me. So I thought I could only squat like 750. Well, Andy rapped me one day and we got under that mono, and we put like 820 or something on there, and it flew. And I was like, okay. And then we did like 840. Like, ooh. And then we hit like 860, which I think the world record at that time was 865 or 864. And I hit it a little high actually, which is fine. But it's like it was only like my third or fourth time like hitting these numbers, hitting raps with somebody rapping me in a mono. So it's like I'm still practicing. And so we actually get up to the meet, and we actually talked about it. I'm like, I want to hit 881. I want 400 keys. And he's like, I think you got it. I'm like, okay, we'll see what we got. So my plan was to open with, I think open with like 820 or 821. I can't really remember. The opener, whatever, it flew. We got it on the board, don't care. But then I went up there for 866 to just chip it. And I think the lights went out on that attempt, actually. Yeah, I think the lights went out on 866, and it was crazy because people were making jokes like, man, you shut the power down in there, man. Yeah. I was like, but it was crazy to hit that one, but I wasn't done yet. Like that one, it was a good moment. Like it's my first all-time world record, but it was like once I hit that 800, that 400 keys, that to me was like, I hate to overshadow your first all-time world record. I mean, do you even count that one?
I don't know if you do, if you hit one after that.
Yeah.
I mean,
that might be open to opinion, because I think if that's the case, I might only be a 3-time all-time world record holder, which is whatever, fine. 3 or 4, y'all make the distinction. I don't care, but like that 400 keys was insane. Like I had Joe, Brianni Terry there, and Hunter Henderson, and my wife there, and we basically had a party on the platform like immediately after that. It was just insane. And then I came back and hit that 400 keys for 881. And I was like, I'm on fire now. Like I don't care what happens at the end of the meet. I'm hyped. And then I just kept going and kept going. We hit like 512 or 518 on bench. And I'm like, I'm about to get the total next. And then
now, did you dial the bench back at all? For instance, your opener, did you pull that back to make sure you keep the squat? So
I've realized now that and I think I learned this after like one of my first meets and raps, like having all that weight on my shoulders, it kills my bench a little bit. So I did have to dial bench back, because I think I hit like 530 or 535 in training. And I was like, that's not going to happen on meet day. But if I can hit 530, I can probably be good for 518, 520 or something like that. So that's been my plan going forward too. I always dial the bench back just because I know it's not gonna be what I had hit in training, which is fine.
Mm-hmm.
I just use that as a projection. So yeah, I think I might have hit 518. I can't even remember, but I did pull it back because, like I said, hit 530, 535 in training. I'm like, that's not gonna happen. I'm dying right now. And I think I got gas. I think I only got my second, if I recall right. But which is all good. Right after that, we went into deadlifts, and I got my opener. I think I already broke the record. I want to say, because I think the all-time world record for the total was like, I want to say at the time it was like 2060, 2065. And by the time I hit my last deadlift, I knocked it up to 2199. That was my second deadlift. If I'd hit my third, I would have got 1,000 keys. So I still haven't hit 1,000 kilos, but it'll fall eventually.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's the only bittersweet moment of the meet was like, you got 2199 instead of 2204.
Oh yeah, well, isn't that how it works though?
Right.
There's always that more.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
I think, matter of fact, the first time, right before I hit my first 2K total, the highest one before that was 1995. And I think Micah coached me to that one too. Like he called my numbers for my last deadlift, and I was like, man, you should have gave me that 5 pounds, dog.
Yeah.
So I give him shit for it all the time. It's funny though. But it was like eventually I came back and got my first 2K total in sleeves. It was all good. But it's a funny little like, it's like a core memory, like knowing like, oh man, I was right there.
Yeah.
But it kind of gives you like that. It makes you hungry, to go back and go crush that barrier. Because like 2K is such a number that everybody wants to hit, and it's kind of like a 400 kilo deadlift or a 400 kilo squat. It's like that barrier is like, you're gonna always remember that. And it's like 2K, 2204, 1,000 kilos, and it's just like, I think once I hit those, I'm gonna be hyped, man. But
well, you end up at this other level too, right? So you hit that, and then a day later when reality comes back, right?
What's next?
Like what's next?
Yeah.
And then you realize a big part of that process is you got to get back to where you were, because you can't
maintain that.
Well, yeah, unlike people think.
Yeah.
You don't maintain all that, so you go through the off season, and then it's like, fuck, I need to get back to where
rebuild all the way back in.
Yeah.
Yeah. Like I tell people think that it's like success. People think, you gotta go all the way up and just keep, and it's just a straight hill. It's like, no, man, success, just like strength training, is not linear as people think. It's up, it's down, it's up, it's down, and hopefully the trend goes up. But you're never gonna just be up, 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 up. I don't think anybody in the sport has just been straight up, 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 up. Not me, not Joe, not John. Like you see all of us, we've hit huge numbers in training or even on the platform, and then like we have to go back and train. Like I've seen John hit 600 on bench, and he has to go back, and he'll go back through the motions to hit 540, hit 560, and it's like you have to go back and forth with this weight, and it's grueling once you get to these numbers. It's like you're kicking your own ass just to beat yourself.
Yeah.
And it's a great process, but it's like people don't realize like you are in here fighting for every pound once you get to these like elite numbers. You think like, oh man, I think people see like, when are you gonna hit like 1,000 pound squat? I'm like, hopefully soon, but I just hit 926. That's the goal is 1,000, but it'll get there eventually.
930's got to happen first.
Yeah. So I'm like, okay, we'll open, try to break that record next, but it's a process, like.
What mental strategies do you use to deal with that throughout the whole year?
To deal with what now?
Those ups and downs like you're talking about.
Oh, honestly, I feel like it's because it's something that at this point that it doesn't really bother me too much. Like I know that it's a process of going up and down, so it doesn't eat at me too much. And it's kind of like going back to the training. It's like if I set these realistic ranges for myself and I stay within those ranges, it kind of keeps my brain in check to not feel like, oh, you suck because you can't hit what you hit 6 months ago. It's like, well, I can't squat 800 pounds right now. I probably could, but I can't squat 850 right now. Like I missed it at the cage the other day, but it's like, I know I can, so it doesn't bother me. I've already hit it before, but it's like, you just gotta, it's practice, it's technique. You gotta go back and redo these things and kind of refine it all over again. You take that time off to rebuild your body, get those smaller muscles, get some muscle growth, and you have to take some time off. You can't just go in here ball to the wall 100% all the time. You'll break.
Yeah. Well, how do you explain that to the clients that you have?
Man, so I remember one time I had a client who had I think he had a shoulder injury or something, and his bench went from like 440 to like in the threes. And it was kind of like that process. Like we gotta go up and down, and it took us a while to get back, but we finally got a PR. And it took us I think it took us 3 years, but he got it though. It's like it's not just an injury, but like just even if you hit a good peak and then you go to off season, like you have to kind of tell them like you got to be realistic. You can't just go up, 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 up. Now you just have to tell them that. And if they don't follow, it's like, man, you gotta. It doesn't work like that. You can believe it if you want, but you're gonna come to a harsh realization on your own if that's how you want to play this game. But it's not just up, up, up. It's not just easy, easy, easy. If that was the case, we'd all be hitting PRs all day.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What are some of the mistakes that you see the younger lifters making today?
Probably pushing through injuries. Just like if you know something's hurting, they're just like, well, I'm gonna do it anyway. Like, yeah, you're young, man, but you're not always gonna be young. That little injury can turn into a big one later down the road if you like. Why? And I tell them, I think the biggest thing I tell young lifters is like I said earlier, it's a marathon, not a sprint. You gotta take.
Well, how will they know the difference between what's just accumulated fatigue? I mean, because the sport hurts. You know what I'm saying? So like injury can mean one thing to you, but it's something completely to somebody else.
Yeah, I think it's kind of like, how much do you push through? Like, am I being a pussy today? Or like, am I really hurt? It's kind of like, we used to, like in wrestling too, we used to say, my coach would ask me, are you injured or are you just hurt? You have to know that distinction. And some people who were athletes before, they kind of understand that. Like, I'm just a little hurt today. I'm not injured. And sometimes that's a lesson you got to learn the hard way. But you can't really make that distinction for people because they know where their pain is, you know? Like I can say I'm injured right now, but I'm really just hurt. But would you know that, you know? Yeah. And it's kind of like you have to like, hey, be real with me, but be real with yourself. You're not doing me any favors by lying. You're not doing yourself any favors by lying to me by saying, oh, I'm just a little hurt. All right, you go in the gym and train then. And then they snap city or something. You know, like, what was the point? Now you're set back even more because you can't train. Yeah. Versus you could have just pulled back a little bit and kept making slower, steady progress. Now you can't make any. And that's the harsh reality that people learn the hard way sometimes. And that's never a fun lesson. What are other issues that you see with your clients? Not really issues, but roadblocks. Probably that's probably the biggest one. Like just the mental thing. Because with clients, you're like their coach, and sometimes you're their therapist. And you have to. It's almost like you're teaching life lessons to like kids sometimes. Like, you know, I can relate it. I can relate coaching to the same way I can relate leading my younger troops at work. Like, I've been through what you've been through already, and you kind of just have to take your time with this. Or like, say, yeah, this is hard. It's gonna suck, but you gotta do it. It's like PT. Yeah, it's gonna suck, but you gotta do it. It's part of the job. Yeah, you got hurt, but we can get through it. It's part of the process. And it's just being kind of a therapist and a coach. It's like you're crunching numbers for these people, but you're also like, you got to keep their mental in check to say, hey man, it's okay you didn't hit this today. And I think that's the biggest one is like they want to hit this number and they didn't hit it that day. I'm like, all right, man, it's okay. It's just we're training, you know? You can be pissy at the meet, but and also at the same time, it's just one meet. There'll be another one. And I tell them like, oh, there's a silver lining to hitting a shitty number in a meet. It'll make your PR the next one look better. Yeah. Now you got a 50-pound PR, you could have had a 30. So it's a low-key silly way to look at it, but it's like, it's true, you know? Like you could have had 100% day today, or you can have a 90% day today. But either way, you're gonna grow beyond that in the future if you just keep going. With most of them, would you think that they're taking it not serious enough or too serious? That's a mix, man. Some people are like super like obsessive, like to a fault almost. And I think that was kind of me at first. Like I told you earlier when Micah was coaching, I was like, man, I don't want to. I got time. I know what I want to do. I'm gonna just do it this way. I was obsessive. I slept it. I ate it. I was always on. I was like, what can I do to train to make this go better? Probably didn't work half the time, but I was obsessive about it. And it's the same thing. Like some people are like obsessive with it, and some people are just like, well, I couldn't make it to train today. My friends are having a lunch thing, and I'm like, all right. Honestly, sometimes, and that's okay, because some people, like, it is a hobby. You know, for most people, it is just a hobby. You can't. I don't feel like you can take every single person and be like, I'm gonna put you in this box and say you have to eat it, sleep it, live it, drink it. Like, no, some people have lives outside of lifting. They're never gonna be John Hack. They're never gonna be Chad Penson. They're never gonna be Brianni Terry or Hunter Henderson. And that's okay. They can eat, they can hydrate, they can get the best sleep, they can have the best nutrition, they can have the best training block, the most science-based, evidence-based training ever. But guess what? They won't be that person. So if they don't want to obsess over it, that's okay. Some people just get lucky and they don't obsess over it. They end up having genetics like John or like Brianna, you know.
Well, it seems to me the ones that
if they got it,
all the ones that are at the top at one point did obsess over it, but didn't get to the top. But then after they quit obsessing over it in that way, they went to a whole nother level. That's not saying you don't take it serious,
right?
But you come to the reality of how things work.
Yeah, you don't have to be so nuanced all the time, because like you said, like you're not stressed, because it'll stress you out trying to make sure you hit every little variable all the time. You got to live life a little bit. You got to enjoy the process too.
Well, I think it stresses them out because they're always wondering if they could be doing something better than what they're currently doing.
And it's like, maybe. But you won't know. You'll literally never know. It's like, you know, like, will I be better if I do this? Or will I not be better? Like, you'll never know those answers. So it's like you just said, you're stressing yourself out over the unknown. Like, you can't, you don't know what you don't know.
Yeah. I got to take a pee real quick.
Yeah.
Hey guys, real quick, we realized that something ridiculous, like 80% of the people that watch the podcast don't subscribe. So subscribe to the channel and make sure to check out the description for more details on the guest, links to their pages, and give us a few days, but the show notes will be there. Or not the show notes, the timestamps. Hey, we're just rolling with this thing right now.
Maybe you've hit your first plateau and you're thinking of hopping on gear, but you realize you're already too small because you're too scared to put more weight on the bar. What do I do? You can support the podcast and get access to the elitefts Table Talk Discord, which has some of the most valuable information you'll ever get. Access to hundreds of ebooks, assuming you can read. Go ahead and cancel your OnlyFans membership to your favorite bear. Because on this Discord, we have a lot of bears. There's also a great form check section, where no matter what kind of lift you're doing, post a video, tons of people give you great feedback. Or maybe you're doing your own programming like down here. Well, there's a great section on the elitefts Discord where you can upload your programming, people can look at it, give you feedback, and telling you that maxing out 5 days a week makes about as much sense as not wiping after a massive Taco Bell dope. You gotta wipe. There's a button you can click, there's monthly prizes, you can win things like apparel with shirts, bands, all kinds of bands, endless amounts of bands.
Okay, so here we go. We got into the McDonald's thing, right? So what are some topics that you wanted to talk about?
Man, I think, okay, so I guess we'll get a serious one for a second. I'm a big goofball, but one thing that I like hold like near and dear to me is mental health. And most people, not most people, but some people know that I'm diagnosed. I got long-term persistent depression and anxiety, and high functioning basically, medicated. But I feel like people don't talk about it enough. And there's also some people who say, well, it's a crutch. Everybody wants to talk about mental health now and they're just making up stuff. Like, well, maybe, but who are you to say that they're making it up? You know? So I just feel like as more people can talk about it more, especially as a man, because this is going to be funny, but men need therapy, dog. We need it the most. Most men be like just holding so much stuff in and trying to be rah man all day. and just be going through the most, trying to lead stuff, trying to run stuff, and like, and just holding stuff in. Like, why go to therapy? Go talk to somebody. Shoot, go to church if you need to. Like, if you're religious, go talk to if you're in the military, go talk to a chaplain, whatever. But go talk, man. Men need to go talk. Need therapy. Need to talk about your mental health. It's okay.
So with, so you say you got anxiety and you have depression. So I've had this conversation with several people. They're kind of on a spectrum, right? So when you say that you suffer from like the anxiety and the depression, when it's I don't want to say bad, when it's high, when anxiety is high, like really high, then how does that manifest itself within you?
Well, I think so. So my anxiety usually manifests the worst at work, like with meetings and stuff. Like I have to run a lot of programs, I have to purchase a lot of things, and I'm in charge of a couple of different sections at a time. And it kind of for me, it manifests when I'm trying to speak, and I'm just like, And honestly, I'm like 90% sure I also have ADHD, but the military won't prescribe me or diagnose me with it because I also have anxiety, depression. They're like, oh, it goes hand in hand, so you just have that. And the military won't prescribe you any stimulants like modafinil or what is it, Adderall.
Yeah,
they won't give you that. So like they basically won't diagnose you with it either. Like if you didn't get it before you came in, you're not getting it now.
Okay. So when you're in that state, like what's your brain doing?
Just loops, man. Loops. But I try to, so I have to keep a lot of notes. Like I mentioned earlier, like if I'm trying to, if I have like my training program or like my water cut stuff, I keep everything in a note. I have to write it down. I think the worst time it hit me one time was in a meeting at work. And I was taking a note. They had just said something to me and they were like, okay, cool. Hey, Sergeant Penson, can you make sure you guys do that? I'm like, cool, bet. So I'm writing it down so I don't forget. So when I'm writing, I'm toned out. Like I'm not paying attention. Like I can't do two things at once. So I'm like, okay, I need to make sure I don't forget this. And then, hey, can you guys do that too? I'm like, and I'm like, shit, what did they say? Do what? What else? Now I have to pretend. Now I'm like freaked out because I'm like, I don't want to act like I didn't hear that. So I'm just going to pretend like I'm writing something else down. Now I got to go ask somebody else, hey, what did they tell me to do? So I got to make sure I have two people in my meetings at all times to make sure I'm covering my own bases. But that actually might be a mix of the anxiety and the ADHD, but like I said, they won't give me that one. So. But yeah, I think the anxiety part just kind of makes me a little ticky at work sometimes. Like I can't, like, I don't know what to focus on sometimes, or I need to focus on the most. So what it manifests me in taking a lot of notes, making a lot of to-do lists, and getting on a lot of people's nerves.
How so?
Delegating. Delegating mostly. But that's part of having like a good team, you know, in anything, whether it's, you know, anxiety, depression, or even ADHD or whatever the spectrum you might have going on in your brain. It's just making sure you can count on somebody.
Now on the other end with the depression, how's that manifest?
Oh, that's usually like at home thing. Not at home. It's because it's everywhere. And for me, so having like long-term depression, like I have like good days, like good periods of time, right? And then sometimes it's just like I'll just wake up and be like, damn, you know, it hits you like a brick. But it did manifest. I think one time it was when I told you I had that really good prep, really bad meat, and everybody was like, oh, he's gonna do great, and then I did not do great. That one sent me for a loop. And then also at the same time, I was also, I got tasked to go on a deployment last minute. And I had just gotten married to my wife. Hey, Brie, I love you. We had just gotten married, like, and she had just moved from, she was in San Diego. She just got out of the military. She just moved from San Diego to live with me in Central California up in Lompoc, just middle of nowhere. So she had none of her friends were anywhere near her, none of her family. And I had to deploy all of a sudden last minute. My meat sucked. So at that point, I was having a moment, a good moment. And I actually spazzed out at work one time, which was not a good reflection of self-control. But sometimes you got to tell people about themselves. And bad leadership needs to be told when they're doing bad things. So, but yeah, that one hit me hard. Like I ended up having to go back into therapy and like take a couple of tests. And they were like, hey man, yeah, you can't deploy.
Mm-hmm.
So I know I can't, but they don't listen to me.
Yeah.
But no, like a lot of people too, like in the military too, will say like mental health, and they're afraid to go because like they think it'll impact their career. And that used to be a big stigma because it would back in the day. But like now, it's mostly like if your mental health's not where it needs to be, they'll like if you're depression or anxiety or whatever the case may be, the biggest thing you might lose is maybe a deployment or a tasking or something like that. But it won't impact your job or your career for the most part, as long as your command or whoever the case may be won't be involved in like what you got going on. You just be like, you maybe not be able to deploy or maybe do something else. But I know a lot of people in the military also feel like, well, if you can't deploy, why are you in? But
so what mitigation strategies do you use? Like if you start to feel the anxiety coming on, what strategies do you use for that? And the same for the depression. Or does it just hit?
So the depression just hits, honestly. So it's kind of like I can't really be proactive. I kind of have to be reactive with the depression. I guess I can be a bit of both. I try to keep, good things going as best you can. Like try to like, take my wife out and stuff, or play with my dogs, whatever, those kind of like proactive things to whatever things give you good vibes at home or at work in life. But when they just hit, then you kind of have to double down on those said things or just.
Now with those things, do you have to build those in your schedule?
I probably should. I think that's probably actually a good strategy. I'm not the best at following those strategies. It was probably another ADHD trait. I need to write stuff down. But I do schedule a lot of things. Like we have like a calendar at home on our fridge where we write all our stuff out. We try to make time for things. So that's kind of the proactive side. Reactive side. Me and my wife, like if we're having like a bad like mental health moment, we come to each other, and she's kind of like my rock in that aspect. We'll talk. She'll tell me, well, what's going on. I'm like, well, this, or sometimes I just don't know, and that's the kind of the beauty of like depression. Not really the beauty, but it just hits. Nothing can be even wrong. You just be like, damn, like why? But then sometimes it hits because like you had a bad training day.
Yeah.
And it's funny because a lot of people they say they go to the gym because I'm depressed to go to the gym. Well, shit, I got depressed because I went to the gym.
Yeah.
But no, it's just you gotta keep all those things in check best you can. But it's one of those things you can't really be. You want to be proactive, but you're kind of helpless sometimes, which sucks. This is why I say like you gotta talk about it. Like people just. When you have those things going on, like don't just hold it in, and then you're not even being reactive. You're just wallowing in it, So the best thing you can do at that point, like talk to somebody. You might just need to be on medication to kind of level out some hormones or something. You know what I'm saying? Or what is your dopamine and your serotonin? Like you just might need that stuff mellowed out, leveled out. Or you might just need to talk through some trauma or something. You really never know until you go talk to somebody and try to figure those things out.
How's therapy helped you, and when did you start to implement it? Or a better question would be, why did you start to implement it?
So I started going to therapy about 4 years ago. I had a rough patch with a significant other, and ended up with like a little bit of essentially PTSD. It's some like psychological trauma type deal, and a little bit of physical, but it is what it is. And so I was just not in a good spot, and I was like, what really came about is like I was thinking of like ending it, So sorry. So I was thinking about ending it, and I was like, this ain't it, like you can't just let things take over your life and make you want to end it, So I did I guess what you would say is the right thing. I called the hotline at my job, at least, not at my job, at a mental health hotline. We have a special one for each base or whatever. And I called him. I was like, hey, I don't really know what to do, but this is kind of what's going on in my head right now. So what's next. I didn't know what to do. I was just like, I don't want to do this, but I'm not feeling good about myself right now. I got a lot of stuff on my mind, and I'm not in a good spot. And they were like, just come in, like immediately. So I came in. We like made like a little action plan. Like if you're feeling like this again, you're gonna write these things down or whatever. It's like a little sheet they give you to kind of like basically walk yourself off the edge, essentially. And then I started going to therapy. I did like an intake. They walk you through like what's going on. You have to like spill all your beans. Or they kind of like give you like not really a diagnosis, but kind of like well, this seems to be like what may be going on. And then you'll go talk to like your actual therapist. And they'll actually give you more of a like they dive deeper into those issues because your intake, at least for the military, I don't know how it is for everybody else, but your intake's like maybe 30-40 minutes, and they kind of just get the quick highlight reel. And then your therapy session will be an hour weekly or every other week or something like that, and they'll dive deeper into those issues and try to give you like coping mechanisms or whatever the case may be, or just give you an outlet for like trauma and stuff like that. So for me, that's how I ended up getting the initial diagnosis with the long-term depression. They're like, how long you been like that? I'm like, I thought this was normal, you know? Most of this was just a standard, and I just had a breaking point. I didn't realize that I had been so close to that breaking point for years. Like, and then when I started going to therapy, they told me like, we talked about all these things about my childhood and stuff like that. We go from, they say, talk about your childhood, talk about childhood. Oh, you might have, like maybe some abandonment issues, or you might have like some PTSD from this type of abuse or something like that, or trauma from XYZ. They go through all that stuff. You're like, damn, I'm kind of fucked up. I didn't realize all this was leading up to this, you know? And so it's like,
how are you comfortable enough to tell them all that stuff?
You just kind of realize you have a problem, man. It's like, if I don't talk to somebody right now, I won't be talking at all.
Yeah.
Type of deal. So, and it was hard. Like, cause like I said earlier, like, as a man, you feel like, you gotta be strong more ways than physical. Like, I'll just hold this shit in, I'll be fine. Nah, nah, man. Like, shit, even just talking about it now, like, I'm low key emotional. I'm like, cause I never really talked about it on a podcast either. And, but when you get that close to like wanting to look up ways to take yourself out, like painless, it's like, you need some help, like ASAP. And nobody should push you to those edges. No person, no situation, life, whatever the case may be, nothing should push you that far to want to take your own life. There's a lot of stuff going on, but somebody wants you there. Somebody's gonna miss you, you know? Whether it's family, friends, like, you might have a lot of stuff going on. You might be like, this will make it easier for me if it'll be easier for who? You're just gone. But you leave behind all these people, and that's kind of the perspective they put it. Sorry, they put it in for me. It was like, what about them? Oh, well, all right, good point. You know, I'm gonna leave them behind, I guess. They're all right with me, you know. They talked me off the edge, and they made me realize I had a lot of other stuff that I needed to work through that I didn't realize. And even if you're not like, if you don't realize you have stuff going on, even if you're don't think you're depressed, it's a good practice for people to just go talk to somebody, you know, because you don't know what you don't know. Yeah. So it is what it is, and it's not what it's not.
Do you get to the point to where you realize they can't make you feel the way that you feel, that you're letting them make you the way you basically, you're determining how they're making you feel by how you react to what's being said?
Yeah, kind of like that. Or like just being like gaslit.
Yes.
You know, somebody telling you, well, you're doing this, so you're making me feel this way because you're this way. I'm like, oh shit, I'm sorry. I'm terrible. No, you're not. No, you're not. Don't let nobody else dictate how the fuck you feel about you. Fuck them.
Yeah.
You know? You deserve to be where the fuck you are and better. You don't deserve to be worse off just because somebody feels however they feel about you.
So how long did it take you to get to that point?
It took me probably a few months of therapy and working through it with the therapist, just talking through a lot of like past childhood stuff, like going through like the historical stuff and kind of coming to some realizations. And then like, oh, I probably could have just realized these things a little sooner with this person if I'd have just processed all this other stuff.
Yeah.
And also my now wife helped me out a lot too. We ended up actually in a relationship where I was like healing through all this stuff. And she was a big help. It was why she got a ring. So, you know.
Well, on a lower level, that kind of plays into how people would handle criticism online, right? You know, so if a troll says something bad about your squat,
yeah,
right? If you ask yourself first, like, why do I feel this way about what a troll just said?
Yeah.
Compared to just saying fuck that person when they're not even a real person anyhow, right?
Yeah.
And then obviously you can probably manage the criticism online now better than before.
Yeah.
Right. And I put that out there because that's what a lot of people have to deal with.
Yeah. And people, like, I would much rather be rich than famous. And it makes me think of, like, I say that because, like, I'm not anywhere near some of these people with, like, the social media followers and stuff like that. But, yo, people on the internet are fucking mean, man.
Oh, yeah.
Like, for no reason. And for me, I can't make sense of why you would just go out of your way to just shit on somebody you don't know. Like, they're just trying to live their life, man. Why would you be like that? But so yeah, after the Kern that I won, I was going against John, but like John's got some crazy fans, and they were just shitting on me. Like, well, hey, John won. Why was he was in sleeves and you beat him in raps? I'm like, well, he's just that damn strong.
Yeah.
He's strong, dude. Like, I'm not sorry. What do you want from me?
That always intrigues me when you guys get along, right?
Yeah.
But the fans are like after each other. It's
like, why?
I have no idea.
Like me and John, we train together, we hang out together. Like, John's cool. But people on the internet, like, trying to, like, insert themselves into other people's lives. And, like, there's not even just in that exact scenario, but just in general, people try to insert themselves in your life, like they're someone to you, and then have an opinion on what you're going through. Why? And then, but even on the other side of that, just don't even let it bother you. But I went through that post Kern. It didn't bother me as much because I was like, I'm laughing to the bank. I got 20 grand. so oh well.
Yeah.
But then after the things, the USPA Pro, when I had that terrible meet, that one kind of sucked a little bit because people were being, a little mean. And I didn't process it that well at the time. But I also had a lot of other stuff going on with, like, potentially having to leave my wife behind and stuff. And I just got orders to move to Florida. So I was looking for a house at the same time. I forgot about that. So we were trying to buy a house. We were trying to move. And then they were like, oh, wait, no, stop. You're actually going to deploy. I'm like, whoa, you mean to leave my wife? I just try to go buy a house. Like, no, I can't. That's way too much change too fast and too much stuff y'all trying to put on me at the moment. And so all that just kind of melded together with the bad performance, and then the not Instagram comments, but like the YouTube comments and stuff like that. And this is like, just don't even. I had to get myself off the internet. I think I took like a week-long break. I just turned off. I took all the apps off my phone. And I like social media, but that was like the only time I've ever had to do like a social media like cleanse or something. But it was mostly I just needed to get away from the hate for a minute, which was crazy because I was not in a good spot. I think I had a couple panic attacks, which wasn't really related to the meet, but it was just like it was too much happening at the time. So.
All right, so off this serious stuff, onto the goofball stuff.
Yes, please.
Yeah. So we've gone through the food thing. What about real bad food?
Real bad food?
Yeah, like candy, shit like that.
I'm not a big candy person. My wife is more the candy I like chocolate and sweets, but like baked stuff. Like I like cakes and honey buns and cinnamon rolls.
So then how much of that have you ever ate in one time?
So you know Whataburger, right?
No, I don't.
You never been to Whataburger?
No.
Oh my God. All right. So for people out there have probably been. So they have cinnamon rolls there. And they sell them, they sell them singular or by the case, like a case of like 6. And they're big, man. They're like, it's like a tray. So I'll buy a tray. tray might be gone in the day. Most of it's gonna be gone regardless in a day. My wife might get one. I'm probably eating like 4 that day. And cookies. Don't get me started. Like if we'll go through a back what is those Pillsbury cookies that come in the little packets that you bake.
Yeah,
about like 3 of those at a time, and I'll eat the whole thing. Like my wife will make them. She'll like bring them over on a on a plate, and I'll be eating them. I'm just like looking at her like, you better get some because these are about to be gone. I'm trying to eat slow so I have some self-control. You can get some, but she's like, no, you go ahead. I'm like, bet, So cookies and baked stuff like those cinnamon rolls, I'll end them. I can probably shovel down like 4 or 5 cinnamon rolls in a one sitting.
What about one of the funniest training stories or training sessions that you've ever had?
Let's see. The funniest. Oh, I don't know. Actually, that's gonna sound really boring.
All right. Well, let me reframe it then. Is there anything that you've done training wise to where you would think back and say, I can't believe I did that from a screwed up part, not like when you squatted with the wraps in the mono the first time, not like that, but just something that when it was over with, like, what the hell was I thinking?
Probably running small off just in general. That was the dumbest thing I probably could have done. Like that was.
How do you come to that conclusion?
Just because nobody's really equipped to handle that kind of volume on a 4 times a week basis. My knees were screaming, and you know what the dumbest part of that whole thing was? I ran it more than once. That's why I'm like looking back, like, dude, you're an idiot. Like I'd ruined my knees for like weeks at a time. Like I would go to sleep with my knees aching, and I thought this was a good idea.
Yeah.
It wasn't, but I was stuck in Africa. I think the last time I ran it was like 2015, and I was trying to come back from my injury, and I was like, I can train again. This is great, and I ran it again. I'm sitting in the middle of the blistering heat in Africa in my little container living unit that I was in. It was basically just a shipping container, right, with a little AC unit that they cut in half. They cut the unit in half, and then split that half into like another half, so you're sharing it with somebody. So we're shoved in here. And I'm just laying in my little cot. Just laying there, man. Knees just aching. So
where were you training at that time?
We had this little they actually had a little gym like set up. I think they built a new one now, but this is back in the day. They had like a little outdoor setting, and we train out there. And sometimes they train. So sometimes we train outside. Sometimes you train in that little the actual gym they had. But it depends on if all the spots were taken. But now I'm thinking, I got one. I had to think back. So there's one time I was training at that same gym in Africa, and I'm benching. I think I was benching like 315, and it's not really funny, but when I look back on it, it's funny. It was really humid in there that day, so I at least probably chalk my hands up because in the middle of Africa, it's 100 degrees, 100% humidity. Actually, it's about like 110 degrees, 100% humidity. It's hot. We're in an enclosed little space. A bunch of people are in here sweating even more. So it's probably 120 degrees in there. And I'm benching, I'm trying to warm up. I'm like benching like 315. And I push it off the chest and it just falls right out of my hands. I'm like, and it bounces off my chest. Like it, poof, and I lands in my hand. I don't know how the hell that happened. Luck, I guess, because I probably could have decapitated myself.
Like a plyometric.
Yeah, it was just, poof, I was like, oh. And I was shocked because I'm like, I'm not dead. 315 on this just fucking pancaked on me. And then some people ran over and like tried to help him. Like, you guys are too late now. It's already back in my hands. But and he was like, you good? I'm like, yeah, I'm done. I'm going home, man. I went home, took my shirt off, had a big line, big red line across my whole chest. I said, yeah, I'm gonna probably take a week off, bitch. I don't really want to show my face in here again. That was embarrassing. Like the whole gym just stopped and was like, you good? I'm like, no. I grabbed my bag and just dipped. I didn't.
You pressed it back up though, right? After the back,
I did, but it was like they already came to help me and were like, "Oh, we got you." I'm like, "Fuck y'all already. I'm good now. I can press it." It smushed me for like a half a second, but y'all were too late. Y'all could have saved me earlier. But yeah, that was probably the most embarrassing thing that's happened in training. Most embarrassing thing happened in a meet. It's probably I dumped a squat twice, not intentionally, at Dan Green's Boss of Bosses in reps. It's the reverse mono. I was not
it's opposite.
Yeah, I was not prepared for that. It's like I fell backwards immediately. And I did it twice. So I was on my third attempt and I was finally gonna get that squat. Then I was squat at 750 and I was pissed. It was the first time my family came to watch me. My stepmom had flew all the way from Tennessee, rented a car and everything. I had a bunch of friends out there and stuff. And she is freaking out. She's thinking I'm about to die. I just dumped this squat twice. First time I dropped the whole bar, it just fell off my back. And the second time, I fell forward. And I went back in the back and threw my belt. And I told Dan at the end of the meeting, I'm like, hey man, I'm so sorry I didn't do that. And I swear I didn't do that on purpose. Just thinking I was going to get invited back again. But yeah, actually, he invited me back again for the last one they had. I think Boss of Bosses 6.
Yeah, that was a weird one because that mono, because I remember I had to make a video to show people that you normally, if you're setting under the bar, you pull the bar back, right? Because it wants to swing forward just a little bit. I mean, shittier models swing forward more. This one you got to push forward.
Yeah, push it forward,
and it screws everybody up.
Yeah, that was my first time on. I'm like, I was not prepared for this.
Yeah, that didn't last very long. It was big overseas.
Yeah, it looks good.
Yeah, it looks good.
It looks good. It's just nobody had one near me to train. Like me just training on the mono was hard to find at the time because the military bases usually aren't in a decent area for training, but especially like with good gyms.
Well, there's other weird things too, to where you don't think that you're actually using the frame of the mono to set your feet, but you kind of are.
Yeah.
And when you take that away, you realize all these things aren't there.
Because I'm using I'll use like the little band pegs.
Yeah.
That's kind of like my guide for where my toes are. And I'm like, okay, cool. This is where my feet need to be. I didn't have that. And I think that's why the bar went backwards in front of my back. Feet were way too far forward. As soon as the arm swung out, I was going down. Well, the bar went down. I was so far forward, man. But yeah, that was pretty embarrassing for a meet. But I didn't bomb out, so that was a highlight.
If you weren't powerlifting, what hobby would you take up that you'd want to go all in with? Relatively all in with?
I would probably do my best to just get back into wrestling. I'd probably do like everybody else would probably just jump into BJJ or something. every powerlifter retires.
Every strength athlete across
goes
the board.
BJJ, yeah. But I probably would either try that, like, because it looks fun. But as a wrestler, I'm like I'm apprehensive to it because wrestlers and BJJ do not mix because they work off their back. We do not, and I don't like that. I went to a BJJ training thing one time to like help them with their takedowns because they don't really work on their feet that well. So I'm in there doing takedowns, showing them some of my moves and stuff. And then they were like, "You want to stick around and roll on the ground?" I'm like, "Sure, why not?" And his white belt choked me out in like 6 seconds. I was so pissed off. I was like, "I'm not coming back here again." I never went back. I thought they were I was thinking about going though, like if they could like, "Hey, I'll help you guys with takedowns if you guys let me come train for free." They were like, "No." I was like, "I'm not getting my ass kicked and paying for it." So no, never went back.
What's the favorite show you've ever binge watched?
Ooh, man, that's hard, man.
Give me a few.
I'm probably gonna get shit for this. I like Vampire Diaries. That was a good one. It's so cringy because it's like romantic or whatever, but it's like I don't know. That one's really one of my. I binged with my wife. Now, but I'm also really big into anime. So One Piece is my go-to. Like I got posters and like little figurines at home. Like I'm a huge fanboy for One Piece. So yeah, that's probably my number one. Whether anime or no show at all, I read the manga. I read the manga. I watch the anime. I rewatched it with my wife. It's 1,000 episodes. It's like 1,100 now. I've watched them all twice.
Oh man! And
the movies. It's almost embarrassing to say, but I'm a proud One Piece fan, so I don't care.
What's the last thing that you binge watched?
What is Avatar: The Last Airbender on Netflix? They just did the live action. Me and my wife, we binged all 8 episodes in like a day. we binge hard, man. We watch so much TV. It's bad. It's bad. Like we're not a good mix as far as like being productive because I feel like when you have a partner and you enable each other's bad habits, it's terrible.
Yeah.
It's so bad because like she's like, oh, I'm gonna get up and go walk on the treadmill and get a little cardio in, and I'll turn something on the TV, and she's like, well, this looks good. And then an hour later, she's still on the couch with me. So the cardio never happened.
Mm-hmm.
Or we'll need to cook. Yes, chicken and rice.
Mm-hmm.
I don't feel like cooking no chicken and rice. I'm binge watching this show. Uber Eats, bet. So yeah, her enabling and my enabling of TV watching is probably our worst marriage trait. By far.
Mm-hmm.
It wastes so much time. But I love TV. I love TV. Consume too much TV for sure.
If you could have any superpower, what would it be?
I don't want to say the cliche like super strength. Actually, teleportation. Because I could go wherever I want. You know what I'm saying? Like I could be in Fiji right now.
Yeah.
So I could be in Fiji right now. Or and I wouldn't have to pay for any flights. You know? I wouldn't need an Airbnb. I wouldn't have been 2 minutes late here because I wouldn't have had to drive. I'm here, you know? It'd been perfect.
What are some different places that you were deployed outside of Africa?
So Africa and Korea. Korea wasn't a deployment. I was there for a year though. I've only deployed once, and that was to Africa. That was rough, super hot. But Korea was amazing. The food. I know we keep circling back to food.
It always goes back to the food.
Hey man, Koreans make some of the best fried chicken that I've ever had in my life.
Mm-hmm.
They are bar none the best fried chicken people ever.
Now you're from the South, right?
Yep.
So it's better than that.
Yep. I'll down that hill. I'll down it right now. Yep. Born in Louisiana, raised half in Mississippi and in Memphis, Tennessee. I will down the hill that Koreans make the best fried chicken. Period.
How did you end up in California?
So leaving Korea, I was putting in for bases, and it was actually Florida. It was Herbert Field, Florida, or Vandenberg Air Force Base in California. And Vandenberg was my number 2 pick. And for some reason, I wanted to go to Florida so damn bad. Now I'm in Florida and I hate it. But I wanted to go to California just because I'm like, at the time, this was like 2017, they had all those big meets were going on. It was the Current, it just started happening. Boss of Bosses was going on. There was like Record Breakers. And I'm like, this is where I need to be if I want to, really get out on the scene. Like I was kind of strong already. I already squatted like 600 pounds, deadlifted like 700, benched in the mid 4s. I hadn't done any of that in the meet yet though. I had been out of the game for so long because I got hurt. Did a couple small meets in New Mexico before going to Korea. After I came back from my injury, and I was like, "Hey, it's time to let's turn it up a little bit." So I was like, "Okay." Did a full year just training in Korea because there's where I'm gonna go compete at, and I got pretty strong. And then I put in for California just for that.
The powerlifting.
Yep.
Yes.
And it worked out.
So powerlifting, in a way, has kind of dictated your life.
It did. That sounds terrible.
Not really, right?
Yeah.
I mean, how did you meet your wife?
Powerlifting. Yep.
And how did that happen?
It was after the Kern in 2019. I went. My coaches invited me to. There was like a little get together after the fact. I was pretty happy with myself. Like 4th overall. I missed top 3 by like 1 Wilkes points to I think a 242 at the time. So I was pretty happy for myself. I was like, cool, first big rap meet. I'm like, this is great. So I see her, and I had seen her on Instagram. I didn't know who she was, but I followed her because like she was strong, and I saw her earlier that day like squatting. She was doing Hatfield squats with like 400 and some change, and she was just throwing them around, man. And I was like, wow, that's turning me on a lot right there. So I showed it to my coach. I'm like, hey, look at this. You see that? That's crazy. And it turns out we get to this party, and she is right over there. So I'm looking at her, and to her, I think she saw me looking at her, and she's like, what's this dude looking at me? I was just trying to figure out where she looked familiar from. But then she was like, I guess, plotting on me on there with her friends or something. We didn't even say a word to each other. So she actually slid in my DMs on Instagram, and she laughed at a meme. And that was it. We talked every day, I think, after that for like months. And I drove down 4 hours to go see her in San Diego. for I think 4th of July in 2019. Yeah, that was it. That was all she wrote. And after that, it was like I was going down there once every other week, and then it became once every weekend, and that was it.
So it's 5 years. Is that right?
Yep. It'll be 5 years dating this year, and I think we've been married since 2021. So yeah.
No regrets. Not like you're gonna say.
No, man. She's great. She's a goofball like me. We're awful together, but in the best way. So it's all good. We just enable the worst of each other's bad habits sometimes.
Well, you enable that, but it sounds like she was there when you're going through all the dark shit.
Yeah, definitely. She definitely is. She probably saved my life, low key. In some regards. So yeah. And she motivated me with powerlifting, whereas like in previous relationships, it was like no, you shouldn't be doing that. But like in this one, she was like, she believed in me and was like pushing me. And she gave me access to CETC at the time. It was like she invited me to meet all her friends there, and like powerlifting with them gave me better. Like I had a better community behind me at the time with her at the forefront. So it just like really picked my life up at the time. So it was like she really changed my life.
How important would you say that community around you is for your powerlifting?
Even today, still it's extremely important. Like her best friend became one of my best friends, and then we met even more best friends through powerlifting. Like Joe is like a brother to me. Joe Sullivan is like a younger brother to me. You know, he looks older than me. And then there's his girlfriend Brianni. She's like a little sister that gets on my nerves. And then there's Hunter Henderson. I love her to death too. She's like another sister to me. And those guys are just like backbones. But like then there's also Janessa that changed out of I think STS strength. Now we met her at CTC. So Janessa Labate, I think she had a world record deadlift. So she's super strong, but low key on like social media, very slept on lifter. But she is one of the hardest working and jacked individuals I've ever met. I don't know why she works so hard. She's obsessive. She's one of those ones. I'm like, damn, girl, why you doing all this Stairmaster shit? But like all this cardio, but you're still strong. I'd be dead as hell. But yeah, those guys have been like extreme pillars in our lives for the last few years. I would say, and I hope I'm not meaning to take anybody out of that list, but like powerlifting goes, these guys have been the kind of the backbones.
Do people at your work have any idea of how strong you actually are and how good you are in the sport?
Yeah, they don't really know about like what powerlifting is.
Yeah.
I think after when I was in California, they had no idea really until I had my first world record, and then they like heard about it and they were like, they were like, what? And then I came back from the meet and they like had like balloons and a cake, and I was like, what the hell is all this for? Well, to me it was weird because I'm like, I never really talk about it at work. I'm like, because I don't want to be talking about meathead shit, and they don't
well,
care.
It's a way to separate it though too, right?
Yeah, I'm like, okay, you guys don't really know what this is, and I don't want to explain in depth what it is, and I don't really like. I like talking about powerlifting, but it's like with people I can talk shop with, but it's like I feel like if I talk about it at work, it's almost gonna sound like braggy. Like it's like, okay, I'm strong, but like also at the same time, I hate the elitists in powerlifters who are like, oh my god, this guy's so strong, and he's got like 1 million followers and all this other shit. And like, bro, at the end of the day, we literally just pick shit up, put it down. we are not special. We're just strong individuals. We got some good genes, man. That was pretty much it. I don't like the guys that are like, oh, they're, you know, they think they're better than people or some shit. I'm like, we're not. We're just lifting weights, dog. So I think everybody should kind of keep that level. But yeah, I don't know. It was weird when they first found out about it, but now at my current base where I'm at now, they know and support it wholeheartedly. Yeah, my bosses are great. My commander, when I was flying out here, I saw him leaving the airport while I was heading in. He had just came back. He said, where you going? I was like, oh, I'm just going to do some exhibition lifts in Ohio and do a podcast. He was like, oh shit, congrats, good job. I'm like, thanks. So it went from nobody really knowing to like everybody being all in and supportive, which is really nice coming from like your job, you know.
So what was it like being in the cage this year?
Man, this weekend has honestly been like probably life changing. Honestly, like even being here is like a bucket list item. Like I think everybody wants to be here. Everybody wants to be at the table talk. Everybody wants to be in the cage eventually, and just to go from being just a regular lifter and then being able to go to Boss of Bosses and meet Dan Green and him inviting me out to that, and then Animal inviting me out to the cage and being able to lift in it, life changing. And the energy was electric. I was so nervous though, because like I said, I got hurt in December. I had a SCM tear or something in my neck that had just been healing. And I tore my quad a little bit again. It was like partial tear. It healed up in about 4 weeks. I was back to squatting in about 4 or 5 weeks once my neck was good to go. But I was so nervous because I was like, I signed up for a 700-pound AMRAP. I wanted to do 8, but I'm like, now I'm like, I backed it down to 7 because I got hurt. But now I'm like, I don't even know if I can do 7 for reps. And I went in there and everything was just flying. It was like, I don't know if it was the energy or what, but the most I had squatted before, I got in there, I think it was 635 on a camera bar for about 5 reps. And it was hard as hell, but it's a camera bar.
Yeah.
I can't fit in my squat rack at home with a straight bar.
Okay.
my grip still is in the wrong spot. So I trained at home with a camera bar. And honestly, it kicks my ass, but I love it. So like the energy in there to squat was insane. So once I got to my 700, I was like, hey, let's throw some reps on and see what I can do. Because we had the whole hour. So I was like, let's build up the crowd a little bit and give them some big lifts. So we hit 700. Then Andy rapped me for 781. He said, what do you want next? I was like, fuck it, let's try 850. You know, I won't go any higher than that if we get it, but that'll be kind of fun. I think the biggest rap squat of the weekend, I think in there was like 920 or something. Mid nines. So I'm like, those some big guys. I'm like, it'd be pretty cool for a 225-pound guy to go in here and throw 850 on there, unpeaked. I missed it. I lost my balance. I hadn't squatted reps in forever, but I lost my balance in the whole. But I didn't tear anything, so that was good.
Had you maintained your balance, you think the strength would have been there?
Oh yeah. My legs were fine. I was just like, damn, it feels good. The pick was great, and then I just was like, oh shit, it was falling backwards. So I definitely think I would have got it. No, like almost no problem. It would have been a little bit of a grind because like I'm not peaked or nothing, but I think 850 on any day is pretty much there. And then we went back down to 700 and hit it for 4 reps. And I think I could have got more, but my lungs are not. I was winded, man. Like my throat was about to close up after that. But super hype.
What will be your next meet?
I don't know. I don't have anything picked out. I was focused on the cage and just really getting healed up. If anything, I might do the American Pro 3. Might gun for that 1,000-pound squat eventually. But yeah, I don't know. It's still up in the air. I kind of want to just focus on getting my health together and stuff. I haven't been benching or squatting since I got this little, not squatting, benching or deadlifting since I hurt this neck thing. But it's been about 3 months now, so I'm gonna.
So what have you been doing in that time period?
Just letting it rest and then squatting.
So not working around it, just
nope.
A lot of TV and then squatting once a week.
Yep. That was it. That's why I was like shocked that I hit those squats. But yeah, I was like, I know some people who were somebody else who had the same injury as me, like 3 weeks after me. And I was like, how the fuck? And they also tore their quad.
Yeah.
But they signed up for another meet. I think Ghost Clash. I'm like, not me. I'm gonna rest. But I know it sounds crazy. I'm like, I've just been chilling and watching TV. Like I did some stuff. You know, I was doing some little cardio, like walking on the couch. I did like a little extra leg stuff. I was doing some accessories at home. I got a few machines in my house, and I was kind of training around the quad injury and I was doing a little like upper body stuff, but I wasn't benching. It wasn't deadlifting. It wasn't doing anything super hardcore. I think I deadlifted one time in the LA Fit Expo while I was working the Iron Rebel booth with Andy. And it was like 385. So it was loaded. I benched like 225 while I was there too. So, but I was just focused on letting it heal. I'm like, the strength will be there. Clearly my squats haven't suffered, and I haven't only squat like maybe 5 times since December. So I'm like, it'll come back.
When do you when are you gauging it? You'll be able to start training?
I'm gonna start back when I get home. Yeah, I'm gonna start back probably this coming when I go back home tomorrow. So probably like Wednesday, I'll probably go check everything out, see how everything's feeling, and just kind of work from there.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't have a plan. I don't have a prep. I don't have a meet planned out. So I'm just gonna enjoy it.
This is a good point though, right?
Yeah.
Because can you at this point? Because you don't even know what physical state you're in.
No idea. So
Yeah.
it's kind of like, that's why I'm kind of like, do I want to even sign up for a meet right now? Not really. But if I do sign up, like the American Pro is, it looks good because it's like, I think it's in like August. So it's just far enough away that it gives me time, like I can assess some things and see how I feel, but also still gives me time. If I do feel good, I probably do pretty good.
Yeah.
Like, obviously my squats are pretty strong. So I'm like, that's good. That's my bread and butter. Then we just got to get my bench and deadlift back to where they are. And they're not that impressive anyway, so it shouldn't be too hard.
Any other topics that you wanted to talk about I didn't bring up?
No, I think we hit the big ones. Mental health, we had some funny stuff. That was all good.
Yeah. Any final thoughts that you have?
No.
I think we covered most
lot,
of it. We covered most of the final thoughts earlier in the episode with like the mental health and the advice for the younger lifters and stuff like that.
Hit the injuries too.
What's the best way for people to follow you?
King Penson lifts on Instagram. KINGP and SONLAFTS for the spelling impaired. I have a TikTok. I don't TikTok. I don't know how to TikTok, but if you have one, just King Penson on there. Feel free to follow me, and I might start posting. I'm definitely TikTok impaired, so check me out on there, and we can make it work. Yeah.
So if you get enough followers, you'll post.
It's like, why? I don't want to put the work in. It's like 5 likes. I'm like, this is not good engagement for me, so I don't want to waste my time. I can't sell any merch. I don't know.
So Instagram is the best way.
Instagram is the best way. I'm in there. I'm engaged. I interact. So yeah.
All right. So we'll have a link in the description. I want to thank you for coming out. This has been great.
Yeah.
And we'll see how the year progresses and hopefully another all-time world record.
Yes, sir. Hopefully.
Right. So thank you. And guys, we're done.
Thank you.
Hey guys, real quick, we realized that something ridiculous, like 80% of the people that watch the podcast don't subscribe. So subscribe to the channel and make sure to check out the description for more details on the guest, links to their pages, and give us a few days, but the show notes will be there. Or not the show notes, the timestamps. Hey, we're just rolling with this thing right now.
Maybe you've hit your first plateau and you're thinking of hopping on gear, but you realize you're already too small because you're too scared to put more weight on the bar. What do? You can support the podcast and get access to the elitefts Table Talk Discord, which has some of the most valuable information you'll ever get. Access to hundreds of ebooks, assuming you can read. Go ahead and cancel your OnlyFans membership to your favorite bear. Because on this Discord, we have a lot of bears. There's also a great form check section, where no matter what kind of lift you're doing, post a video, tons of people give you great feedback, or maybe you're doing your own programming like down here. Well, there's a great section on the elitefts Discord where you can upload your programming, people can look at it, give you feedback, and telling you that maxing out 5 days a week makes about as much sense as not wiping after a massive Taco Bell dump. You gotta wipe. There's a button you can click, there's monthly prizes, you can win things like apparel with shirts, bands, all kinds of bands, endless amounts of bands.